Total turn around, baby, go and drop it down. Drop it down.
I was involved. Yeah. Were looking to me. Like,
Welcome back to my channel. I'm doing a reaction to DJ Academics Emergency Podcast. Lawyer breaks down why Young Thug has zero chance at getting a fair trial.
So this in the Meg case. So at the Meg case, the first day when Meg took the stand, I made a video during the lunch break about, oh, Meg looked like this. She looked scared. She looked guarded. She looked like she was on defense. Whereas she's the victim, she should be telling her truth proudly and easily. And right after I made that video, Meg came out on the stand and she said, you know, before I start continuing my testimony, I just want to say this afternoon I was feeling a little guarded.
Really?
Said, oh yeah, you can watch my video. She came out, she said that, and I knew right then and there she had watched my video, her team watched my video, and they responded throughout that case over and over again. That situation kept repeating itself, where the parties were kind of looking at my videos and giving feedback. And that kind of continued with a couple other cases. You know, I interviewed Tekashi, I interviewed Youngboy, and other people have kind of reached out to me. And it got to the point where honestly, it was a lot.
Yeah,
it was a lot.
I have finished my hair, y'all.
Content to entertain.
I twist these efforts up.
The people are looking
after I get done twisting them up.
I'm gonna tell them what they should do with their
Put them.
Now, I've always wondered during all of this, are you making money from hip hop per se? No. Because like you're giving invaluable information that let's call you a consultant, a legal consultant. That's something that people charge by the hour for. Now you're giving these explanations on YouTube, and of course fans are like they want to be in the know, but they don't know what you're giving is a qualified expert's opinion on analyzing what they've seen. Which is if you go out, you know, one of my friends recently, not to stray off topic, but he had to get an attorney. Start calling a few attorneys. And he's thinking an attorney is something that, okay, well, I get a guy for like $100 an hour. You know what I mean? The prices he got, he was baffled. And it's to file a couple simple motions because he's getting sued with some bullshit. And that's when I looked at you and I'm like, yo, this could be such a lucrative thing, but I don't know if he's getting paid for it.
So for the first couple of years, and I'm going really viral, start with the 6ix9ine case, the Youngboy case, the Tory case, and I'm going really viral, but I never bothered monetizing it because that wasn't my play. You know, doing submerge, in screen, you know, in video ads, YouTube monetization. I never worried about any of that because I always knew in the back of my head that what I really want to be is a billboard boy. The reason why all these lawyers are
what's that?
So you see when you drive down the highway, lawyer after lawyer after lawyer on the billboard.
Yeah.
Right, and they spending big money, like $20,000, $30,000 a month on that billboard.
Yeah.
And the reason why those lawyers are on those billboards is if you have a serious case where you know, like, oh shit, something really bad happened to me, I'm about to catch a bag. You're gonna think of the lawyer's name. You're gonna call that lawyer. You're gonna say, I trust you. Let me take my case. And the reality of the matter is, when you're a lawyer and somebody calls you with a big case and deposits their trust in you, and now you get to go case and try to bring it home for them. As long as you know what you're doing and the case works out well, there are big prizes at the end.
Still, I didn't even thought about it because I was looking at your page, and your page is, it seems like you're a lawyer that seems to advocate for workers who are taken advantage of, or like, you know, got hurt on a job or whatever the case is. And I was like, it would kind of make more sense if he was a criminal defense attorney. Because in hip hop, what do these dudes need lawyers for? There's two lawyers that win in hip hop. Entertainment lawyers. Yo, I just got signed. I need somebody who, I'll give you 5% of my deal, but I just signed to be Atlanta for $2 million. Okay, I'll just do the paperwork and make sure you don't get robbed. That's the first.
I'd never be a criminal defense attorney. I'll tell you why.
Criminal defense. Why not?
If you're a criminal defense attorney, what are you selling?
You're
selling your hours.
Okay.
You sell your hours, your time to go talk to defendants and judges in court. You sell your time.
Mhm.
You know how much time you got every year? If you're lucky, if you don't got kids, you might have 2,000 hours to sell.
Damn.
So if you got 2,000 hours to sell this year, you're going to have 2,000 hours to sell next year. Over 10 years, you're only going to have 20,000 hours to sell. And there's only so much money you could charge per hour. You know, these days, there are some lawyers charging $2,000 an hour, but there's a ceiling. There's a limit to a point where you just can't charge anymore. And so
Yeah, we don't like ceilings over here.
profit.
We want as much money as
a finite amount of money you can make selling those hours. Somebody calls me today and say, hey, you know, I was sexually assaulted by so-and-so rapper. I want you to take my sexual harassment case. I could write a letter to that rapper.
You'll never have to worry about that with me, baby. You feel?
We need $5 million.
Good.
Now, writing that letter, meeting with that client, all that might have taken me 5 hours. And if I have a good case, it's going to result in a quick settlement. And even if it doesn't, there's always this potential for unlimited earnings. I'm not tied to my time. It's more my expertise, person who's giving me the opportunity to take their case. And so I've always known that I want to do something in the contingency fee world. Now, when I started, I never advertised for injury or sexual harassment. Why? Well, one, I didn't have the experience. But two, if you get into a serious injury, if somebody has seriously assaulted you, you know that you need a serious lawyer for your very serious case.
You don't need no lawyer. Just call me, baby. I'll handle it. I'll make sure he handles it. You feel?
Very small claims that they might have at work. Oh, you're working overtime, or they're rounding your time.
I've heard so many of those. I'm like,
very small claims, like shit that people don't really know about, or they don't know claims about.
I was watching videos one day. I'm like, yo, if I had a bunch of like hourly workers and shit, I might have to like look at their patients and see if they're following you. You gonna make every worker follow or something.
Oh,
So I
God.
use those eyeballs to educate people about claims that they didn't have, claims that I could work on, claims that they let me work on, even though I had no reputation, because they were small little claims here and there.
But that wasn't the end goal.
That wasn't the end goal. Over the last year or 2 years, I've transitioned into serious cases, big sexual harassment cases, big cases involving police misconduct, big cases involving people getting injured at accident sites. And that was the end goal. And you know, God willing, I think I got in there less than 5 years, not bad.
Okay, so you mentioned to me right before we started filming, you're not gonna have employees. You like, I always thought you had like about 10 people. I was wondering like, how's this guy's walking around New York City? I always saw him with the suit. I'm like, all right, look like he's going to court. That's the thing about a lawyer. Once you see him with the suit, you already think that you just beat a case.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Looks like he probably has a whole office. He just doesn't do it from his office, but he's being more, down to earth. How has life changed for you in terms of, you ramping it up?
Oh man, I'm a whole new person. So I used to do the hip hop thing, try to find content, make a video. I'm calling clients, I'm sending bills, I'm scanning, I'm going to the post office, I'm doing everything. Now I pretty much operate with my 2 phones. One, I get calls, one, I get emails. My team runs everything. People call me with serious cases. We don't take any small cases. Good.
Being a lawyer, if you get it at the right, like I've looked at a few lawyers and I'm like, and it's kind of interesting how you say it's more beneficial to be on the contingency side. And I'm wondering if you really do think that in all situations, and not to jump the gun, but I guess we are jumping the gun a little bit. Like for example, like Brian Steele, he has to be getting like, and if you don't know who that is, that's Young Thug's lawyer. He got to be getting the bag. He got to. Like what he got to be getting millions. What do you think about? And I guess we're getting into a little bit breaking news, and we'll deal with the Meg and Tory and some of the Young Boy stuff later. But let's get to the YSL trial. The last thing that just happened, Brian Steele held in contempt. That's Young Thug's lawyer, held in contempt by the judge, who, when Brian Steele brought it up in court to say, hey.
And just for y'all information, I did a whole reaction to the trial. Not saying I'm gonna do it every time, but it is a video that y'all can go watch. YSL Woody is going off, so I want to see what this man got to say about this.
I have information that you guys had an improper meeting in private that was about that was with a witness that we weren't privy to, or we weren't there, we couldn't object it. And that was improper. And the judge said, fuck what you're talking about improper. Who told you? snitch on the snitch.
Round week.
And he said no. And the judge says you're going to be spending 20 days in county jail. What do you think about Brian Steele? And how does being a lawyer like that work? Because a lot of people are wondering, what's that type of relationship with a client?
So a couple of things I think about Brian Steele. His status as a lawyer, his relationship with his client. First, Brian Steele has been at the top of the criminal defense law game for 20, 30 years. He has consistently proven himself in trial, in plea bargaining, in appeals. And he has a long record of cases that he's beat at trial, cases that he's gotten dismissed without a trial, and cases that he's lost, gone up on appeal, and beat them on appeal. His criminal record is unmatched. You put it up with any criminal defense attorney across the country. Okay. His relationship with his client is a very interesting one. Because if you're that lawyer and you have that reputation, you're not going to associate yourself with just any defendant. And in my heart of hearts, I believe truly that if Brian Steele felt that Young Thug was anything close to the King slime that indictment tries to make him out to be, I don't think he'd represent him in the manner, in the zealous passion that he's doing. So for that,
that is a fact.
Brian Steele is just beyond question. There's nothing you could question that, man. The track record, the history of showing up with his.
You think it's the money though? So I instantly think maybe Young Thug is saying, "Hey, listen, 10 million, you got it. Get me out of this." Would the money make him? Because I remember the very first time when Young Thug got arrested, and I think they were about to get to the bail hearing or so. And Brian Steele had this epic interview. He says, "We're gonna fight this charge with every ounce of blood in my body." And I'm like, yo, if I ever have a lawyer, I need him to talk like that. That is crazy. Like,
oh God, you better be talking like that. What you talking about?
Is he doing this because, of course, Young Thug is going to compensate him very handsomely, I assume? Or is it because, hey, I have a relationship with you and I know that this is bullshit?
Well, it's both. It's both.
They're both, it's definitely both, bro. And it's okay to be both. Niggas got to eat.
The money's got to be there and the relationship's got to be there for you to get the Brian Steele that you're getting in court if you're Jeffrey Williams. All right? You gotta be a stand-up, decent human being, I believe. And I believe you got to be paying him serious pay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's where Brian Steele's at. The contempt order, all that starts on what was day 87 of the trial, Friday that just passed.
Okay, break that down for me. Because to everybody else that watch, when we see the clips on Instagram, a lot of people aren't watching every single day, or they're not even understand the context of some of the clips they're seeing. What happened? And give us your time.
So everything starts on day 87, right? This past Friday. You got Kenneth Copeland, the state's quote-unquote star witness. All right, so this guy gets up there, he takes the stand, and then there's a question of whether or not he's going to testify or plead the fifth.
Okay, I hate to cut you off, but I'm trying to add some context to it. So we've seen this guy, YSL Woody, before. There was a leaked interrogation footage of him talking for 3 hours. Everyone knew that if Gunner wasn't the quote-unquote snitch, this guy was definitely going to tell. He told 3 hours in interrogation room.
Can't wait.
You obviously know a lot more about the legal proceeding. This guy, I can imagine his family's getting threats. He was going to be the star witness. What do you think is happening before? And then, because I didn't even think, we haven't seen this guy on social media at all, really much. But he did show up to supposedly testify.
I can tell you what was happening before. So the state subpoenaed him 2 weeks ago. All right. And then he was supposed to testify last Tuesday. But because of the trial schedule, whatever, he's not going to go on Tuesday. All right. So then he's scheduled for Friday. And this whole time, from 2 weeks to that Friday, the prosecutor is talking to Woody. They're talking to her like, yo, we're going to ask you these questions. We're going to show you this evidence. You're good. You're good. Very buddy, cozy relationship.
Is he in cahoots with them saying, hey, I'm going to because
we're going to get into that.
Because I hate when I see these guys get on the stand and they're half snitching. They're like, I'm telling, but I'm not really telling. I'll say certain stuff, but not certain stuff. Like, hey, what's the agreement here? So before he gets on that stand, you're saying the prosecutor is talking to him. Is he saying to them, fuck you, I'm not going to cooperate?
Well, according to the prosecutor, he's being cooperative. He's talking to them. He's doing whatever they're asking him to do for the 2 weeks up until the Friday.
Okay.
Except that on Thursday night, the night before he's supposed to testify, an email is sent from the lawyer for Kenneth Copeland, Woody, to the prosecutor.
Really?
My client's not going to testify. He's pleading the fifth.
No way.
Now, this is problematic according to Woody's lawyer at the time, a guy named Melnick, because Melnick says that they've known this whole time that I'm his lawyer, and they should have never been talking to him at all. I shouldn't have had to come to the night before and telling them that he's pleading the fifth after they've had all these conversations with him. Anyway, that happens. The lawyer sends an email, he's going to plead the fifth. You can call him if you want, whatever. So they go to court.
Could you explain what pleading the fifth is? Just for the people who might just not know.
That boy said, I don't recall.
Says that you have the right to remain silent, to not incriminate yourself. Right? You cannot be forced to speak on things that would subject you to criminal liability for your own conduct. That's why they give you the Miranda warning. Anything you say can and will be used against you, but you have the right to remain silent. And so Woody says that I'm exercising my Fifth Amendment right. I will not testify. And this causes a big problem for the prosecution. Okay, it should not cause any type of problem for the judge because the judge doesn't care, right? The judge is a neutral arbiter of the case. It's really just the prosecution's problem. Their witness is testifying. So the prosecution had told Woody that, look, if you plead the fifth, you will face consequences. And that
why would that be if that's his right?
Well, and here's where all the law comes into play. So there's a law in Georgia that says that if you have material testimony to a case and the government wants you to come testify, then the government can give you something called use immunity, meaning that anything you say won't be used against you, right? Okay. The Miranda warning is anything you say can and will be used against you. Okay. All right. Now they're saying that, look, we need your testimony and we understand you have a Fifth Amendment right and you're invoking it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you this nice little piece of paper that says anything you say to us, we will not use against you.
Can I ask you a question about that? Because there's a slight confusion with on my part when it comes to immunity. Now, sometimes when I hear it being described as like, hey, your testimony can't be used against you. But what about the crimes you admit to? Like, for example, say while I'm on the stand, I said, and nobody knew this, yeah, Lil Ronnie, yeah, I killed him. I did kill him. And I admit to it. Now they be like, well, we can't use the testimony, but we could go investigate it knowing that he kind of did tell us he killed him. We just need to find other things other than the testimony to corroborate him killing. Am I void of all crimes I actually discuss? Or is only my testimony to those crimes that's void?
You know somebody who's probably asking themselves that question? Kenneth Copeland. You know what the answer to that question is?
What?
You are absolutely fucking on the hook for any crimes you committed that they can prove without using your testimony.
Really?
You do not, when you get in that Georgia statute.
That's like a slimy thing though. Like, you're going to compel me to testify and then you're going to try to investigate me?
Well, you gotta, I mean, there's a lot here. So you gotta unpack the whole thing and then you can kind of see how this shit fucking really can be oppressive. So that's called use immunity, that what you say won't be used against you. Totally different from maybe what people would refer to as just immunity or absolute immunity, which means that you'll never be charged with any crimes, right? That's not what he got. He got use immunity. And one of the questions that I think will be asked on appeal and part of these mistrial motions that you're going to see is that the judge conflated the two things. The judge is on the stand talking to Woody, and he's like, yo, yeah, look, I'm going to jail you, or you can testify, and you should testify because you have immunity. And it's like, you heard that from the judge, so you might be thinking, oh, I'm good. I could say stuff, I'll never be charged with that crime. That's not true. You'll never be charged based on what you said. You could absolutely be charged for that crime still. That's my opinion. That's my reading of the statute. I've discussed with many criminal defense attorneys This is a bedrock principle that is different when you get use immunity versus just full-on immunity.
But by the way, and I want to table this, so remember this later, Leaf. That was a thing too for the Meg case, right? Because the whole Kelsey, we all assumed there was some immunity there, but people felt like she was guarded because if she admitted to possessing the gun, that would be something else that they could investigate even without her. Anyway,
that's absolutely right.
All right, so let's stay on Woody. So the night before, his lawyer says, "I'm not testifying. He's not going to
testify."
Wow.
So he says he's not going to testify. They come in. The judge gets Woody up there, gets the lawyer up there. Was he arrested this whole time? I've never seen this motherfucker before. Like, he just disappeared. I thought he was in witness protection. How do you hide a witness this good? Everybody's roasted him online. They were roasting him for months. We had the video of him in an interrogation room. We never seen him. Where was he at? Bro, Woody got 11 convictions. He's been in prison most of his life. However, for the past 2 years, he's been out, even though he was convicted, pled to possession of a weapon by a felon. I think that was in 23. He was convicted after he pled to possession of an illegal substance with intent to distribute. That was in 22. And that was his conviction number 10 and 11. He was out on the street, free as a bird, the day that he was called on to testify. So there is a lot of reason to believe that Woody has been saying God knows what to whoever in order to get out of his multiple convictions.
Yeah, because he did say, "I'm just saying whatever to get out."
Where you need to ask for leniency. So let's go back to Thursday night. They say that Friday morning they show up into courtroom. Friday morning, the judge brings everybody up in there. They get Woody's lawyer Melnick on the podium, and Melnick says he's not testifying. The judge says, "All right, well, let me get him up here. Let me hear it from him." And when the judge gets Woody on the stand to hear it from him, I encourage everybody to go watch day 87 when Woody is being asked by the judge. You'll see it on the live stream, and the judge makes this conflation between.
I reacted to day 92 of the trial.
The judge is trying to. The judge is supposed to be impartial, but if you watch the judge talk to Woody, it sure as hell seems like the judge has an idea of what the best thing for Woody is, that the best thing for Woody would be for him to testify. So anyway, the judge starts talking to Woody, and he's like, "Yo, if you don't testify, I'm gonna hold you in contempt. That means I might have to jail you. And, if you do testify, you got immunity, and I wouldn't jail you." Now, the judge makes no explanation of the distinction between use immunity and absolute immunity.
Which, by the way, if anyone's ever been to even traffic court, anytime you, when the judge is talking to you and you're usually a little scared or whatever the case is, and, if you try to ask certain questions, they're quickly to assert, "Hey, listen, I am not here to give you advice. You need an attorney for them. You should be looking to me on what you should do, because I'm not operating in the betterment of what's good for you. I'm here for the betterment and what's good for the courts of justice." So I do kiss you on that.
So the judge and Woody are going back and forth on this conversation. Melnick is up there on the podium. Steele's trying to interject, and the judge just keeps going with Woody. And Woody's like, "Nah, I'm not going to testify." And then the judge is like, "Wait, but let's make sure you understood what I said." And Woody's like, "No, I'm not going to testify." And the judge goes and takes a third run at him.
Yeah.
And on the third one, the guy's like, "Okay, I'll say whatever you want me to say." And the judge is like, everybody's like, "Well, what does it mean? What?" And they're like, "Well, are you going to testify?" And he's like, "Yes." They're like, "All right, cool." So they bring the jury out. Now they bring the jury out. Prosecutor starts asking questions. Like the third question, what does the witness do? "I plead the fifth." And that was the first moment that the YSL trial completely went off the rails. Now, we believe it's gone off the rails, but you ask a defense attorney, ask your uncle who, does cases, whatever. That shit went off the rails on that moment, because here's why. For months, the jury has heard about Kenneth Copeland, Woody, Kenneth Copeland, Woody, murder, robbery, murder. Kenneth Copeland, Woody just took the stand. And what's the first thing that motherfucker says? "I plead the fifth." And there's a bedrock principle in criminal law. If you're calling a witness to the stand as the prosecution, and the witness is going to plead the fifth, you cannot call him, because it's going to make the defense look guilty as fuck. I'll give you an example. Me and you go commit a crime. You're charged as the accessory. I'm the main defendant. I'm on trial. You got a deal or some shit, whatever you got. You're not on that trial. You're a witness. For weeks, the jury has been hearing Mo robbed the bank, Ack was in the car. Ack drove him home. Ack threw out the gloves. Ba, ba, ba. All right. The jury hears about how Ack has been charged with an accessory. Ack was in the car. All right. Now Ack gets on the stand. Mr. Academics, do you know Mr. Gangat? I plead the fifth. Does that make me look?
Yeah.
You do look kind of
Does that make me look?
You look guilty.
Now, if you knew as the prosecutor that Ack was going to get on the stand and plead the fifth, you have an obligation to not put him on the stand. And if you go back, I encourage everybody to watch Day 87 when the judge is going back and forth with Copeland. There was good reason to believe that Woody was about to take the fifth on the stand, and the judge should not have put him on there. Further, after this happens, right, Woody says, I take the fifth. Judge, everybody realizes, fuck, that should not have happened in front of the jury. Jury is sent outside, and all the lawyers start standing up one after another on the defense. Mistrial, mistrial, mistrial. They knew. And the judge is sitting there going, oh, well, I'm not sure that they knew. And it's like, bro, did you just see the confusing fucking set of conversations that you had with Woody where multiple times he told you he's taken the fifth until you kept asking him questions to the point that he got so confused that he just said, I'll say whatever the hell you do. He wanted me to tell it, I'll tell it. Woody, in his mind, when he said, I'll tell it whatever they want me to tell, he was going to tell it, I'm taking the fifth. Woody's not like the sharpest tool in the shed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you asked him the same shit 3 times. The third time you say, I'm going to do what y'all want me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you watch that, I think a fair observer would say when he said that, what he understood him to be saying, what he assumed other people were understanding, is that if y'all put me on the stand, I'm going to say on the stand I take the fifth.
Yeah.
So these lawyers all go up there and they're going nuts, and then and Steele and Shaw, and they're all going nuts. They're all like, yo, forget about you, Judge. The prosecutor knew that he was going to take the fifth, because after you did all that with him 3 times, everybody went outside for a break. We're going to come back with the jury. While they were on break, a bunch of people heard Woody on the phone telling people, I'm taking a fifth, I'm taking a fifth.
Let me ask you this question, because I
Sure.
think people are going to be wondering this. So what's the difference between that and like Tekashi 6ix9ine situation? Because 6ix9ine have done the same, be like, hey, I'm pleading the fifth. Because I think what we were kind of seeing here is like, I think that what the judge kept saying, which that's what we believe with the 6ix9ine thing, is like, obviously 6ix9ine is a federal thing, and he had a 5K1 letter, but he had immunity on whatever he said before in whatever proffer session. And he's like, hey, you got to repeat it here, right? So I thought that at least with the Woody situation with the prosecutors, they had something to compel him to say, hey, remember, we're dismissing some charges, or not going to prosecute and prosecute you and whatever, and give you immunity, which you told us, which they had to talk before. This shit felt like crazy. Like, have they never talked to this guy before?
That's a great point, Ack. And that begs the question that if there is no formal 5K or something like that they would have in a Georgia state court, if there's no formal incentive being extended by the prosecution to this guy, right? And I think a lot of observers might say, well, maybe there was. You know, maybe it's just not official. Maybe Woody's had 11 convictions. He had one in 22. He had one in 23. Yet he didn't do any time. Maybe people have been holding Woody's hand and saying, hey, come on, just be nice to us. It doesn't have to be formal.
Yeah.
Because maybe you don't really have anything. Maybe you don't want to offer a guy bond and no time on a charge where he should not get a bond in due time if you plan on using him later for his testimony.
Was he sentenced on those convictions? Because they might have been like, hey, listen, we're going to hold these convictions, the sentencing for these convictions till after you be a nice boy and you do what we want to do. Because right now, I watched him on the stand, and it felt like he was almost thumbing his nose at the prosecutors, like, yeah, I don't give a fuck about this. And there's a point, and I know you probably saw this, where basically it was like, hey, Mr. Copeland has notified the court that he's not going to testify, and even if he's held in contempt, he's willing to sit in jail. He don't give a fuck how long it is. And I'm like, what? That's crazy.
Well, listen, he said that like he had to, in order for Woody to invoke his Fifth Amendment right and have the court actually accept it, he had to say it like 8 times. And then on the 9th time, he basically said whatever the hell the judge wanted him to say, right? And then they bring the jury out, he says it, everybody leaves mistrial. All right. And then once he invoked the 5th, the judge says, well, you got to go to prison. Right, I'm holding you in contempt. It's Friday. You're going to sit in jail over the weekend. On Monday, you come back, and if you choose to testify, you're out of contempt. If you don't testify, you're still in contempt. And this is where, you know, the pressure and the coercion element comes in. Because that contempt, how long do you think somebody will hold you on contempt if you don't testify in this trial on a Friday? How long do you think you might spend in there?
Should we definitely spend a weekend? And if you don't, you might be spending weeks. By the way, and you might not be familiar with these cases, but it reminds me of some other cases. I remember there's an infamous, like, this is people who like into sports, the Balco case, where like I think they were trying to either get, I think it was Barry Bonds, or I think at the point like A-Rod, and there was a guy who was like a trainer who was supposedly was supplying the steroids, and he was just basically saying, I'm not going to testify. And essentially he got held in contempt until, and locked up, obviously, until the case ended, but nothing happened to the main people. And that seemed to be like, well, okay, if you get the fall guys to just say, I'm just going to sit in jail to the rest of this trial, but you can't get a conviction without me, that's like a W strategy, right?
W strategy, and what you just said is the answer. The answer is you're going to get held in contempt until the case ends. When do you think the YSL case is ending? Exactly.
Do you think that's why they scared him? Because they scared him. Because come Monday, I'm thinking, listen, Woody is a career criminal. He's probably used to shitting in that fucking metal toilet than in his porcelain toilet at home. He knows about them sandwiches in the cafeteria more than he knows about DoorDash. It's no way that he says, I'm not testifying Friday, and 2 days go by and he's like, God damn it, whatever y'all want, I'm willing to cooperate. Because Monday comes around, and you know what happened? He tries to get on the stand.
Well, Monday morning comes around. Woody's supposed to be there at 9:30, so he's in custody. They bring him in, but nobody takes the stand until 11:30. What happened between 9:30 and 11:30 is the ex parte outside of the parties. So the word ex parte in Latin basically just means outside of the presence of the parties. Okay. So in a lawsuit, there's parties. There's the defendants. There's the state. Now, if the defendants have a meeting with the judge without the state, they're having an ex parte meeting. If the judge and the state have a meeting without the defendants, they're having an ex parte meeting outside the presence of the judge. Is that legal? Well, absolutely. You can have ex parte meetings. Are all of them legal? You can have an ex parte meeting that then leads to a mistrial, what they call a reversible error. You should not have had that meeting, judge, because you did it. The whole trial is tainted and the verdict, whatever it is, has to be run back. So on Monday morning, after spending the weekend in jail, Woody takes the stand at 11:30. And at 11:30, he takes the stand and he starts testifying. And he's answering the questions, and they take a break. When they come back from the break, Brian Steele takes the podium. And he says, Judge, it's come to my attention that you guys had an ex parte meeting with Woody. And I'd like to discuss some of what I've heard happened in that meeting, because that sounds to me, if it's true, that there was witness tampering that happened, because I heard a couple things. I heard that Miss Love concurred. Who's Miss Love? The prosecutor. Okay. Well, I heard that the court told Woody that Woody's going to spend all the time in jail that it takes for this trial to end. And this trial's been going on for 9 months, day 87 of trial, but it's actually taken 9 months of real time. This trial will probably go on for another year. And then the prosecutor kicks in to Woody, hey, you know, you're not just going to sit for this trial. There's other defendants on this indictment who are not being tried as part of this group, and their trials are going to come sometime soon. So even when this trial that's good, you're going to sit. That's good. That's key. That's basically saying, hey, you're sitting for the next 3 years. That's like telling him a sentence. That's
messed up.
That's sentencing him and doing it outside the presence of the defendants and their counsel. Okay, so Woody hears all that, and he takes the stand, he starts testifying, and then Brian Steele hears that meeting happened, so he gets up on the podium, he's like, Judge, did this happen? If so, if I heard it right, isn't that witness tampering? How could you do that? How could you tell this witness who invoked the fifth multiple times, who you confused the fuck out of about what immunity is? How could you then say that if he doesn't do whatever the prosecution wants, which is testify, that he's going to sit for this long, that without telling us that it's happening? That's coercive. We need to know that all that was said. We need to use their cross-examination. right? We need to know that it happened. It's part of my guy's case.
Okay, so the only question I had for that, because I was listening to Judge, I believe it's Glanville, that's his name. He kept trying to make a point to say, hey, there are ex parte conversations that exist that would include me and the prosecutor. He didn't really say the witness, but I guess it's implied the witness. But every time Steele was like counteracting, it was like, yeah, without the witness. It's like if the witness is there, we're supposed to be there. I guess that's going to be a big source of disagreement here, because if what Judge Glanville did was legal, I guess nothing's wrong. If what he did was illegal, this case is almost already so tainted, not only by this, so many other things. It's like the appellate court's going to have a great time with this, no matter how it goes, right? Well, I don't think the prosecutor's going to go crazy, but if Thug gets found guilty, and of course, like it's going to be a cause for mistrial every 20 seconds. So, do we know if they could do that? Talk to the witness and the prosecutor alone?
Well, a couple things. One, there should be a complete transcript of everything that was said in that meeting. Now, when Brian Steele took the podium, Brian Steele suggested that at times the court reporter was there, but there may have been things that were said that the court reporter did not catch. And if that's true, then the only people who could tell us what was said are the people who were in that room. And if that's true, then the people in that room are now witnesses to the case, and therefore they can't be the prosecutor or the judge, because they're going to have to testify about what was said in that meeting so that we can have that information to use it for cross-examining Woody and otherwise defending our clients. We're being accused of stuff, and we're now left out of a critical part of this case. There's case law on it. It's going to get argued forever and ever. I would be interested. What intrigues me in that whole exchange was the judge's sort of obsession with finding out who was the source of the leak, instead of actually addressing head on whether it was proper or not proper. Right?
But isn't it obvious who's the source of the leak? The source
I
of
would
the
say
leak
so, yeah.
has to be Woody himself. I don't know if he was president himself or maybe it was just a lawyer. It's either him or his lawyer. I can't see the court reporter or anybody that works for the court or the prosecutors or obviously the judge who's making these tell me who told you. It's only one or two people, Woody or his lawyer. So this is the confusing part about it, because I'm wondering if the judge is supposed to be neutral, why would he do that? I have a slight thought. But I'm really just wondering why any judge would do it. I think this judge is frustrated. This got to be one of the longest cases and most convoluted, complicated. It's all, there's so much pressure and there's so many things to do. There's so many defendants. I think this judge is frustrated. And I don't know if that's an actual thing where the moment becomes too big for a judge, or you just get, you just get fatigued. And it's like, oh my God, like, fuck it, let's keep doing it, right? Like, even if you're probably going against certain people's maybe rights, or you're probably doing things that you shouldn't do. That's the only reason why I could think. I don't think it has anything against the defendants. Like, why do you think a judge, or why do you think Mr. Glanville would make these errors?
Look, it's hard to say why he did things, certainly until an appeals court chimes in. It's hard to say that they're errors as a matter of fact. But what really struck me when he's going back and forth with Steele, and Steele's like, yo, did this happen? They said this. If they did that, that has to be a mistrial, Your Honor. The judge didn't meet Steele on any of those points. Instead, the judge kept going, who told you, who told you, who told you, which was skirting the issue, and I would have expected the judge maybe to riff on that for a while, but then circle back and address it and say, no, I can't have these ex parte meetings, or for whatever the case might be. The only real explanation that I heard was from the prosecutor, where the prosecutor was trying to basically say two things. One, she was making a legal argument that this is a contempt charge against the witness. And so in addressing the witness's contempt, that has nothing to do with the defense. It's really just amongst me and the witness and the court, and the defendants have nothing to do with that argument makes no sense. Miss Love did it. It makes, to me, it doesn't make any sense. there's good case law. Ryan Steele cited it. It's the Scudder versus State of Georgia case, which says that when there is a witness on the stand and you have an ex parte communication with just the witness and the judge, defendants have a right to object to that. That is a critical juncture. They have a right to be heard on whether or not that ex parte communication should happen. One thing we know is that there will be a record from the court reporter that has at least some, if not all, of what was said in that ex parte conversation. And I believe, unless there was a strong basis from the prosecution to show that there are coercive tactics from the defense side, that this defendant attorney called Melnick or called Copeland and said, if you don't tell me, unless there's something like that, you can't have an ex parte meeting like that with the guy who multiple times has told you he wants to take the fifth, who you've now jailed over the weekend. And before he comes in on Monday morning, you're going to bring him into the room and start working him, basically, right? Like the detectives, when they bring you in the interrogation room, they keep working you over and they get you some McDonald's and they say, oh, you can get home by Tuesday if you just talk to us.
So another thing that confuses the hell out of me. So in the interest of, fairness and justice, and I keep hearing this every time I watch this case, and I watched the YNW Melly case, and this happened a lot too. Explain this in the legal process, the overall sense. If I'm a defense attorney and I said, hey, there's something that went gravely wrong here, I'm doing a motion for mistrial, especially if I think the judge is a part of it or the ruling is a part of it. Why is that same judge the person to grant me a mistrial? Because play this. If I'm operating on bad faith, I'm not going to hold myself accountable and say mistrial. That to me, I'm wondering why there isn't another oversight body immediately that you could ask for the mistrial. Because if I'm Judge Glanville, yeah, I had this ex parte conversation. Fuck if it's legal to me. Fuck you got to get this back on appeal. You're not going to get a mistrial now, which the whole point of a mistrial is supposed to be in the moment if you realize that this trial is tainted. So I guess legally, why do they have to ask that same judge who, if they thought it was going to be a mistrial, they would have probably held themselves accountable. But they're not going to hold themselves accountable if an offense attorney asked them.
They should have marked it as a mistrial, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
How many resources do we have to have oversight and somebody, go?
Because the YMW Melly case, they marked that as a mistrial. So I was like,
as a practical matter, that immediate second level of review, we just don't have the resources for it. Judges out there, you see how long cases take. The shit takes forever.
Yeah.
Now, there will be a process. We will see how quickly it comes in. You'll recall in the Trump trial, when Fani Willis when they asked to have Fani be recused from the case for a conflict, the judge said, no, we're not going to force her to be recused. They filed the notice of appeal. And after a couple of days, the appeals court said, stop that case. We've got an appeal. We're looking at it. And that case is going to stop until we decide this appeal. So that's something that's going to be in play here in the YSL case.
Well, is that just Trump privilege? We can talk about Trump trials where it's like, I'm going to be honest with you. I've never seen a guy go through a trial this quickly. And, sentencing hasn't happened yet, but a lot of the things with Trump seems very expedited. Most other things seems like we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah.
Again, this is a concerned citizen asking about the legal process. Should I even look at the YNW Melly case? I look at the Tory Lanez case. There's so many damn questions. Anyway, let's completely wrap this YSL thing up. Okay, so now the judge says, give me the fucking person who told you. Tell me the snitch. Snitch on the snitch.
Yeah.
Okay? If you're Ryan Steele, are you doing Be honest.
I'm not Brian Steele.
I know.
So if you're asking if I'm the man that Brian Steele is, then I'm doing it. But I am.
If you're the attorney for, and let's forget the relationship or the star power that Jeffrey Williams, aka Young Thug, holds. If you're representing a client that you know maybe decently well, but you can tell it feels like something doesn't smell right here, but they're also asking for who is it. And also, I was thinking about it. Does it matter that much if he did say who it was?
I'm kind of confused on that point too. I'm not sure that it matters so much. I think for Brian, it's a matter of consistency, and that he reads the law a certain way and he knows he's right, and so he wants to be consistent in it. But his point is that the law prohibits me from disclosing this information to you because I obtained this information in the course of working on my client's defense, and the stuff that I work on for defending my client, I don't have to tell you guys. That's my work. It's privileged, and I have an absolute right to have that protected. And so for Brian, he can't do things that are convenient, or he can't do things that are going to make him feel better in the moment. He does things with his conviction and his understanding of what the law is. And I would like to think that if I'm ever in that situation, that I would follow my convictions too. What ends up happening, well, a couple of things. First, Judge sends the sheriff up there to go and arrest Brian because he won't tell him, and start trying to take Steele's notes. Steele's like, no, you can't take my notes. Sheriff was like,
that was like an interesting thing.
That's great, man.
Yo, we never saw Steele in cups about it too.
Yo, you saw the judge is like, I'm gonna give you 5 minutes, think about it and come back. He's like, I don't need 5 minutes. The judge walked out, and Steele's still up there ripping. You know what Steele said? Steele said, I heard that in that meeting, Copeland admitted to a murder. That's not Brady material. If you're starving,
what's Brady material? I've heard this word so many times. What's Brady material? I think it's a Georgia statue or a case or something like that. What is it though?
Brady is a famous. It's the last name of a defendant, criminal defendant, whose case went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court issued a ruling. I believe it was Brady versus the state of Maryland, where the Supreme Court said that under the Constitution, the government has an obligation to provide defendants with any information in their possession that exonerates the defendants, that shows the defendant's innocence.
Ooh.
So if you're charged with something and somebody else is saying that they did it, or if you're charged with something and somebody else is the witness in the case against you, but that witness is making all these inconsistent statements. On Monday, he said the light was red, and on Tuesday, he said the light was green. Then the state has an obligation to disclose that to you. That, hey, we were talking to this guy, he said this, and on Tuesday he said that.
Let me give you an example and tell me if it fits that. Okay, hey, we charged you for the murder of a guy at a Shell gas station. We arrested you because people said you fit the description. That's why we arrested you. Someone said they seen someone with the same hair as you. Later on, now we're in the legal process because like we've got rid of all that type of stuff. Then somehow we get the surveillance tape. It's not you. However, rather than provide you through discovery with the surveillance tape, we're just going to act like it doesn't exist and continue to prosecute you off of what everybody else says.
That's a textbook Brady violation. There'd be a immediate reversal if people found out they had the tape and didn't give it up.
Oh, okay. All right.
So Steele's up there, the judges walked off, the sheriff's trying to grab his notes, and he's still like, I heard Copeland said this. That's Brady, give me that. And they
Copeland admitted to a murder?
Apparently, Steele said that it was relayed to him that in that meeting, Copeland admitted to a murder.
Why doesn't it just say, all right, hey, we'll put out a transcript immediately to debunk that?
I can only imagine that the judge is thinking that the judge is right, that there is undue influence or illegal interference from the defense on the witness, and so we have to do all this in secret. And listen, that's a heavy burden. Before you can say that the defense engaged in witness intimidation, you got to have something. What I heard from Miss Love is, oh, well, Mr. Melnick went up there and Mr. Melnick said that he's pleading the fifth, and then Mr. Copeland said that I'm going to testify, and then when Mr. Melnick was walking back to his table, he kind of looked at the defense attorneys and said, I tried. What the fuck does that's not witness coercion. Like that, I don't know what that is.
Okay, all right.
But right, Love was basically suggesting that, oh, they're all in cahoots because after you said that, all right, Copeland is going to testify, Melnick turned around and went like this. What is that? Doesn't mean anything.
Hey, I'm telling you, this juncture, for anybody who's paying attention, reminds me a lot of the little Meg and Tory case, but we're talking about Kelsey here. Where now there's some minds who believe Kelsey was coerced maybe by Tory, right? Where they were like, hey, you know she's being coerced because when she's on the stand, they said, hey, who paid for your lawyer? She said, let me think about that. I don't remember. Which is like, if you don't remember who paid for your lawyer, it's like, come on, right? And I think on Tory's side, they feel the same thing happened, which is probably even more damning because it happened to their witness, which was Sean Kelly, right? Like they got the police report. Apparently, they talked to him, even though I don't know if they did in the official setting. They talked to him. He said, "Hey, listen, yeah. My story is that I seen the girl do the shooting, and then apparently he goes to meet with the prosecutor.
His story initially on direct was that, hey, who shot? I didn't see. Well, who was closest to the gun? And he said, I thought the girl was the one closest to the gun when it went off.
Okay, there we go. And apparently after he talks to the prosecutor, he's then saying, I see the short guy do
it's not like this.
Yeah. And which supposedly we've never heard before, which kind of leads into and I'm wondering if that's like a practice that prosecutors do. Like, hey, listen, if I've been talking to you for months, because you do realize that we're in this era where all these guys think they're going to outsmart the prosecutor, right? So you're telling me this whole time, yeah, of course, yeah, no, that's what happened. I'm striking a deal with you, whatever. And I guess maybe this is why the federal, maybe it doesn't happen on a federal level, but because maybe there's not a 5K1 letter, everyone just thinks that, okay, I'm going to just get out of a few charges. It's going to be like a wink, head nod type of thing. And then when I get up there, I'm going to play, right? Because I think that's kind of what the prosecutor's looking at, like, yo, Copeland, we files, we do, I watched this. The prosecutors filed all type of, hey, Jeffrey can't get out of jail. He has to have these things restricted because our witnesses are being threatened. So if we're to believe that, they thought they were protecting him this whole time. They must have thought whatever story he was giving them was good enough. And he goes on a stand and they said, how old are you? And he says, old enough.
Like, nigga, what?
The next question, he said, I plead the fifth.
That's like a female. I asked her how old.
You come across.
That's like me asking a female. So how old are you? I'm old enough. I mean, I would think you saying old enough means you're over 18, but no, I can't. Like, you can't lead with that. I can't accept that. You're gonna have to actually tell me your age with proof. So, yeah. It's
a lot more as a defense attorney, but let's think on the other side. Aren't you fucking frustrated if you're the prosecutor? What the fuck? They all wanted to kill you when you were actually snitching. Then you agreed to snitch. We gave you a deal for snitching. You're not going to go to jail for anything. And then now it's time to snitch. You're trying to get back on their side that you could not go to jail and still be cool with them. We're upset.
The prosecutors are beyond upset, right? They're stuck with it, right? They're so pop committed.
Yeah.
I mean, those probably Hilton and they put their whole, I mean, how many years have been put into this? You can't get away from it at this point. You're just stuck. There was one prosecutor I liked, but they took him off. Well, actually, no, he got promoted to I think either DA or maybe ADA of Gwinnett County. It was a guy, he cut like this epic clip that somebody has to use the intro. He was talking about Young Thug. He says, Young Thug, he's the man behind the shadows. He's the guy they call King Slime. And they put like a Metro Boomin beat behind it. It sounded so epic. It sounded so epic. He was on the shit. Okay, all right. So Steele's about to get jailed. Yeah. All right. So they're like, all right, Steele takes his jacket off. He takes the tie off. He was pumping. He took it all off. And I see guys like, Your Honor, I got one more thing to say. And the judge was going to jail him right then and there, right? And then the light bulb went off in the judge's head that, oh man, I can't actually jail this guy right then and there. It's gonna be a mistrial if I take away his lawyer like at this critical juncture. Like his lawyer's like, yo, this is a critical juncture. You just had an ex parte meeting without me. I've heard about it. We need to discuss it. And then instead of me discussing it, I actually jailed the lawyer. That's like, I'm getting a little out there right now. I'm getting a little too far. So the judge initially was doing all, and there was also, I should talk about this. There was, did you see the Ashley Marchand came in, the blonde woman defending Brian Steele at the end of the day?
Who's that?
So that was the same defense attorney who argued the motion for why Fani Willis should be recused from the Trump trial. That was her.
Really?
Yeah. And she's part of it.
What was her job in this trial?
She came to defend.
Make sure y'all like, comment, and
She
subscribe.
Jail Steele for not revealing the source.
How does that work? Does Steele have to be like, hey, I'm hiring an attorney? Like, how does that work?
He would have, except in Georgia, there's an organization called the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. We call it GACTL. And Steele is a member of GACTL, and GACTL is basically, it's about 1,500 strong. And it's these defense firms. You know, defense firms usually are solo guys, 2-3 guys in a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have like big armies of lawyers where like the court system has like resources, prosecute. So if you get in a bind and you're a defense attorney, you're a member of this organization, you can let them know and they'll come help you out. Now, in this case, an email probably went out to GACTL that, yo, this is happening to Brian Steele. So Ashley Marchand is the president of GACTL. So, I mean, I don't know that GACTL is going to respond to every single distress call the way they did.
Yeah, but it's high profile.
This is Brian Steele, right? So they responded heavy. The president actually came out to argue it, and about 20-25 lawyers showed up. All them lawyers show up.
We got Trump for president, you know, he helped niggas get out.
The judge is like, well, I don't have any room, which was a lie. That's a lie. The jury was not there. There's 12 seats in the jury box. Defense attorneys, I don't know if y'all ever been to court. Defense attorneys always are allowed to sit in the jury box. They'll let defense attorneys stand if that's the case. The judge is like, nah, y'all stay outside. He let Ashley argue the motion. Ashley's like, Judge, come on, this is outrageous. A couple of things. And she made all the points, and the judge ran it back. And he was going to jail Steele. And then he's like, I can't, here's what I'm going to do. You have to go to jail on the weekends.
Wait, hold on. This is like such like rare shit happening.
Rare.
So an attorney not in the case was allowed to come in to argue a motion that was countering the decision of a judge within the case?
Well, she was there to argue the criminal contempt charge, right? Because there's a case. The case is State of Georgia versus
Jeffrey Williams and others.
That whole group. Now there's a new case. The new case is the court versus Brian Steele. The court is saying that you violated my court rules and now you've got a charge against you. So she came in to defend Steele on that contempt charge. And
that happens right away?
That happened right away. So when that happened right away, the judge walked it back because he was speeding. And he walked it back. He realized I can't take Steele away from Williams right now in the middle of this trial at this moment. That's going to be a definite mistrial. He walks it back and says, you're going to serve it on the weekends. Friday, 5 p.m., report to the sheriff. They'll let you, or 7 p.m., and they'll let you out Sunday at 7. That itself could arguably be grounds for mistrial, because how are you giving somebody the right to a fair representation when on the weekends in this fucking trial, which is exhausting, rather than get to recharge your batteries, catch up on work, do all the things that people need to do, you're spending fucking 72 hours. And then Steele's like, hey, if I'm jailed on the weekends, can I spend my time with Jeff? So that me and Jeff can work on our defense even then. The judge is like, yeah, you can do that. Now we'll see if that actually holds up this Friday. We'll see if Brian Steele is incarcerated, because a notice of appeal was filed immediately by none other than his wife. His wife is a practicing attorney. His wife's an attorney too. Yeah. So his wife filed an appeal with the Georgia Appeals Court. I would imagine the Georgia Appeals Court is very familiar with the Steele law firm. They've granted a lot of his appeals. I would think we're going to get some type of order here before Friday.
Or do you think that they might be like, hey, let's hold on to him actually having served that? We'll rule on it.
Exactly. I hope to God, if there's any justice in the world, that the appeals court looks at this and says, yo, if that guy's filing an appeal and you're trying to jail him for the weekend this Friday, after all these years of service, his impeccable reputation act, it's so hard to get to that point and have no skeletons in the closet, no dirt. This man is lily white. if they don't stop him from being jailed on Friday, that's a fucking tragedy.
Okay. Yeah, no, this is crazy. Okay, so he's supposed to go to jail on Friday. He got 20 days though. I didn't. Like so he held.
He bailed out, by the way.
Glanville held someone else.
So he don't gotta do those 20 days.
Told them they had to like. I don't know if this was actually contempt, but he said, "Hey, write an essay." Another guy, "Hey, you got to buy everyone's lunch." And those just kind of seems like you're just trying to, you're fucking with someone.
Yeah.
But 20 days in jail is kind of like, yo, that's like a sentence. Like I'm pretty sure. I'm not telling anyone to go do this, but if you catch a DUI and like, yo, you can go through trial, they might just give you 30 days, right? Like they only even try to jail you for a lot of stuff, but 20 days because you refuse to snitch.
And refused to snitch with a legal explanation for why he believed that he was bound by the law to not answer the question. And the judge decided, I'm going to give you 20 days instead of, the judge could have said that I'll give you 20 days, but I'm going to give you the right to go and immediately appeal, and I'm going to hold the sentence until your appeal is decided out of respect for you, sir, out of the fact that I know that you're a real human. But he didn't want to do that. And to me, just raises questions, man. Like, why is it so serious for the judge?
I do believe, and this is my personal opinion, I think number one, Fonnie Willis, who is in a pickle after the Trump trial, she wants this trial to be successful. This is one of the last hurrahs of her effort in being a DA, because everything that, if we really go back about 18 months ago, she was looking impeccable, right? Like right when she charged his YSL, she announced that she's going out to Trump. She looks strong. She looks like she's not tolerating bullshit. She's down to, use the scales of justice no matter who it is, right? She'll go after the rappers who are popular in their community but doing bad allegedly, and she'll go after the politicians. Looks great. And this is a theory of mine. I believe that with everything going on, I think the prosecutor is going to win this case. It's just not looking good. Fonnie Willis 18 months ago, she was looking strong. She was looking like she was going to get there. These days, it looks like she needs a win. She needs something to be like, hey, everything you're hearing about me isn't true. Okay, I'm still standing on the side of justice. For whatever reason, I think this judge kind of falls on the side of that. I don't know if it's whether because, he's frustrated with maybe the defendants, frustrated with the process, or maybe he's just like really thinking these guys are guilty. He seems to be a little bit like, hey, I'm not taking the defendant shit. He's been bickering back and forth with Brian Steele all day, right? But you know what also happened? And I'm wondering if you have any insight on that. So after the whole back and forth with Brian Steele, gives him contempt. They come to defend him, and apparently he's going to be doing weekends, and we'll see if it actually happens. Then we continue, and all of a sudden we see another explosive moment: the firing of a attorney in court.
That's right. Kenneth Copeland's lawyer, we know her as Miss Bumpus, and she showed up because Melnick on Friday, after they do the whole thing and all that, and Copeland says, I plead the fifth, and they take the jury out and the mistrial motion. Melnick come up there and he's like, Judge, I got these non-refundable tickets. I can't be here on Monday. And the judge is like, well, I'm bringing Copeland here on Monday. You better be here on Monday.
Wait, non-refundable tickets to what?
He didn't say, man.
I was going to the Chris Brown concert.
You going somewhere?
Chris Brown gonna be Jersey today? Like, yo, I was trying to get tickets sold out.
Yo, you can get some tickets?
No, I was. No, this is what they told me. They said I had to ask before. Like, me, I'm so late with that. I asked today. Chris Brown's gonna be in the Prudential Center tonight. Anyway, sold out tickets to what?
So he didn't say, but long story short,
it's not even a thing. You could tell like the judge, hey, yo, judge, I have a date at 8, or I like tomorrow, I'm gonna see a bad bitch or whatever the hell. Like, whatever. And
I'll have to skip.
You
feel me?
In writing in advance a couple months of the days that you're
I'm
not.
sorry, Judge, but I got a date, man. I gotta get some cat.
So in this case,
Think I'm gonna miss out on some? Think I'm gonna be here to miss out on some cat, nigga? Like, is you crazy? You feel me?
Judges
See,
like,
baby, I told you I wouldn't let you
You make your choice. You're here or you're not here. that's not going to be something that's like reversible error, right? If that's something an appeals court would look at, like, oh, maybe the judge should have let him, but he didn't. I'm not going to overturn a conviction or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Never happened. So the judge is like, look, if you're not going to be here, that's on you. Don't be here. And Melnick's like, all right, I'm going to send Ms. Bumpus. Ms. Bumpus comes on Monday morning. She's in the ex parte meeting that they have. Copeland starts testifying. Steele does his whole shit. Thing stops. The next day, Bumpus is like, yo, I can't be the lawyer no more. And the judge is like, what do you mean?
Why? Why did she do that?
So we don't know. She didn't say. But what's interesting is how the judge reacted with all of it. So she's like, yo, I can't be the lawyer no more. Judge looks at Copeland. She's like, yo, you want this guy to be your lawyer? And this woman to be your lawyer? And then Copeland's like, nah, she fired. And then the judge has a problem on his hands. The judge has a big problem on his hands because the judge is being accused of tampering with that witness with the prosecutor. And now that witness's lawyer is going to be out of the picture. So he's going to go forward unrepresented. And the judge is like confused. He's like searching the law. I think this was day 89. I encourage y'all to go watch day 89.
You think he was searching like long?
He had so many long pauses. There was a pause of about 3 minutes. There was another pause of about 5 minutes where he's just stuck. Like he does not know what to do. He doesn't know how he wants to play it because it's just gotten so deep. And so with Ms. Bumpus, he's like, yeah, I'm looking at the law. There's a rule that requires a 10-day consideration period. You've probably seen this or heard about it. When your lawyer wants to stop representing you or you want to fire your lawyer, it's not like they just do that. The court has to get involved. And he's like, yeah, I'm looking at this rule. I think we have to wait 10 days, Ms. Bumpus.
You don't got to wait no damn 10 days. They did it on purpose, bro.
It's like, Judge,
if I want this motherfucker fired,
the rule says this.
I need this motherfucker out.
To get rid of his lawyer immediately if he wants. You just have to have him do that.
My lawyer ain't doing what my lawyer is supposed to be doing. At that point, nigga, I'd rather represent myself until I found another one. What the fuck you talking about, nigga?
Wait, so what about the 10-day consideration period?
The judge is wrong. The judge initially spent like 30 minutes reviewing the law and saying, Ms. Bumpus, you're going to be stuck here for 10 days. He even calendared a date. He said in 10 days, we're going to have the hearing on this. And then when the defense lawyers get to it, it's like, Judge, that's not what the rules says. And then the judge's like, all right, I'm going to let him out. Let Bumpus out. And Copeland continues unrepresented. So right now, what you have is Kenneth Copeland is testifying, I believe, under a mistaken false impression of what type of immunity he has. Okay, with no lawyer representing him, advising him, and he's just winging it.
Now, I mean, as you explained that seems like grounds for all type of reversals or appeals or, hey, listen, what the fuck is going on? Let's look from a macro perspective. You know, obviously, this is a very intricate and important interval. In this case, at this juncture, where do you see this case going? I've talked to so many other attorneys, and it feels like they're all sharing the same sentiment. I wanted to hear what you had to say.
So one thing's for sure, and you can tell by the way everybody's acting, is this is the critical juncture. People are laying it on the line. They're sort of playing all their cards and doing things like that maybe they're not even allowed to do, but they feel like this is it. This is the moment. I got to do it now. And then, you know, there have been enough things that have happened that have raised, you know, serious red flags. First, you have this idea that on the stand, after Mr. Copeland has said, I plead the fifth, the judge continues in a back and forth colloquy where he, in my opinion, confuses Mr. Copeland and then gets Mr. Copeland to say, all right, I'll tell it however you want me to tell it. The judge should have understood that what that meant is I'm going to plead the fifth. Then they all go out into the hallway. Again, people hear Mr. Copeland say he's going to plead the fifth, and yet they still let Copeland take the stand and say, I plead the fifth. That seems like grounds for a mistrial. Second, you have the ex parte meeting. The day on the Monday, after he spent a weekend in jail, after you confused him, made him say, I'll take the fifth in front of the jury, an ex parte meeting with Bumpus, because Melnick's out of town on vacation. You don't tell the defense, and you start telling this witness about how much time he's going to spend behind bars if he continues to invoke his Fifth Amendment privilege. That ex parte meeting, the fact that it did not happen within the presence of the defense attorneys and what was said at that meeting could be another grounds for a potential mistrial. And then you have the treatment of Brian Steele. And this is not the only issue that has happened with Mr. Steele. Mr. Steele There was a moment, you guys have probably seen the clips, where Mr. Steele goes up to the judge and he said, yo, in front of the jury, you shot my credibility. You were making statements about me and my conduct and my behavior in front of the jury, making me look bad, and that's not appropriate. Followed up with jailing Mr. Steele potentially for 20 days on the weekends of this trial. That can't possibly be a situation where appeals court can look at it and say, oh, you have the right to counsel. An appeals court can look at that and say, man, you deprived this man of the right to counsel. If you have him working on this case full time, he knows everything about the case. He spends all week, Monday through Friday there. Then he's jailed over the weekend. That's not a functioning human being.
Yeah, that don't make any sense, man. Y'all trying to knock him off his game.
You have you're young thug. You have other lawyers. They could pick up the slack. I'm wondering how that's treated, because we've seen these huge cases with high profile people where there's like 8 lawyers, but like there's usually the lead lawyer.
That's
right. In the eyes of the court, usually, is it like, hey, all these lawyers can do the same thing, or is it like, hey, listen, this is the main guy here, and he's the person who's raising motions, he's cross-examining, or he's interrogating the witnesses. He's important. Is it looked at like anyone can do the job?
The main guy matters, and that's why the judge walked back his initial sentence of immediate jailing, because he knows that he needs to have Steele in that courtroom sitting next to Jeffrey Williams if any chance of this trial holding up on appeal. So I mean, the potential, there was even a moment when Ms. Bumpus wanted to withdraw, and the judge is like, yo, you want Bumpus? Bumpus is like, yo, we want to come up and approach. And the judge is like, he's like, wait, am I going to have a meeting right now in court with just Bumpus and the prosecution? And he invites them up, all right? So Bumpus is like, yo, can we approach? And he gets stuck. He's like stuck for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Then he's like, all right, come approach. And he says, state, Bumpus, come approach. Tells the defense to sit all up there. The defense starts going nuts, like, bro, you got to do this again? You're going to do another ex parte meeting, this time in the courtroom where we don't hear what you're talking about? And the judge is like, all right, go back. Don't do. I mean, it's chill behavior. Now, the question will be, when will an appeals court look at any of this stuff? So they're going to keep making motions for mistrials. They're going to keep building their record. But procedurally, when will this all get in front of an appeals court? That's an open question. I can't answer it, but we'll see.
Okay. Let's try to extrapolate and maybe like kind of predict a bit where this is probably going to go, because it's an important juncture. This still might go on for a year, but I do think that what's happened in the last week or so is so flagrant that it will taint the entire process, even if it continues to go forward, or if it goes forward and gets a certain result, especially in appeal. Do you think this results, and this is just guessing here, right? Just from your purview, right? Do you think that this will get to a jury verdict? Do you think that at some point the judge will either recuse himself or grant a mistrial? Or do you believe that, there's going to be some other body, maybe an appellate court, that steps in to say, let's hold up, there has been too much bullshit going on in here. We need to address some of it.
I think there's a possibility that you'll see a stay at some point where an appeals court says that before this continues, we want to take a quick look at it and issue a ruling. Not sure if that will happen. The bigger question, Ack, is as everybody's talking about all these evidence issues and Fifth Amendment issues and conflict issues and this and that and everything else, the prosecution still has a RICO case to prove. Okay, and this RICO case involves acts dating as far back as like 2012, 2013. That jury's been sitting there for 9 months. They're going to sit there for what? Another 6, another 8? I don't know a single person who's followed that trial who can tell you anything about what's happened from an evidentiary perspective. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a long, long time to get all this evidence in. And at the end of it, do you have the jury with you? Are they still there? Can they speak to it? So that's going to be a whole separate question. The bottom line is that if you're the defense, you're fucked because you've been sitting in jail while all this happened and you've never been proven guilty. And Doug's been sitting there for 2 years. He might sit there for 3 years. And even if this shit goes to the jury and you get a not guilty, or if this goes to an appeals court, you get an appeal win. Did you win after you did 3 years time? What did Lucci get on similar charges?
Well, here's the thing though. Lucci got incarcerated before though, but he's getting released before though. I have and I want you to judge, because I didn't get a prediction out of you, but I want you to judge my prediction. This is my prediction currently. My prediction that this is going to probably end in a mistrial. At some point, whether there is, an appellate court that steps, it's just not going to get to a jury verdict. And what's going to happen there is that, I believe the prosecutors are trying their best to not have egg on their face and being embarrassed. They don't want to concede, like, we've seen it in the Lucci trial. They're down to be like, hey, you get probation and just do this little time. You've already been in jail, right? He had attempted murder, or no, he had murder on his a part of his document. I think what they're gonna do is once mistrial and all that shit happens, rather than really go through this whole process again, they're gonna look at these guys and say, listen, sign this deal. You've been locked up for 4 or 5 years, young dog. Sign this deal. You get out in 6 months. We're gonna have you on probation for 10 years, 15 years. Yeah. And we still get a win. You never got convicted. We don't look the best, but at least we don't look like, I've never heard of, maybe you've heard of, I've never heard of a state losing a RICO or that type of structured case ever, right? Because it's just it's an overwhelming amount of evidence. If I'm sitting there as a jury, like they tell you, walk in, walk out. Walk in, walk out. Like, yeah, and now it's 9 months in, and all I'm seeing is this, that. And in these cases, all they got to prove is that this organization was a criminal organization and that the persons or the people being convicted were part of it. I'm pretty sure they could get a conviction. But this looks nasty. I've never seen it look this nasty. The feds are probably looking at this and say, especially in Southern District, New York, saying, we never played like that. Nothing goes out like this.
I followed a lot of these cases out for years. The outcry from criminal defense attorneys on social media. Bro, every single criminal defense lawyer with a cell phone is out there doing this, going, yo, what the fuck is happening? Yeah. And so your sense that this is a possible mistrial, I think, is a good concept, a good prediction. And that your sense that, what could happen here is that after it's been 3 years in there, 4 years in there, maybe they just give him a deal. I know.
Wow. I think currently he's been locked up, I believe, for 2 or 3.
Yeah, going on more than 2 years.
It's kind of sad. I mean, as we go into another case that you were also very in tune with, someone just told me we're approaching 2 years, I believe 2 years, on Tory's case. Like, he's been incarcerated. So the end of his case. He's been locked up, I believe, December 2022.
We still got that appeal pending with the Quan affidavit.
But he's already serving his time, technically, which, we just see some news pop up about his wife was getting divorced from him. I'm wondering what the latest is with Tory. I think there's a lot of motion going on with his attorneys. He switched out attorneys. He got appeal attorneys, and these other attorneys are doing this. I'm wondering what's going on with that, and I'm wondering if it's even possible that he will, no matter how this ends, unless somehow an appellate court turns this over, will Tory Lanez be a citizen or allowed to stay in the United States? Because I recently spoke to his people. This whole time I'm thinking, Tory really like an immigrant, right? He's been in the United States, living in LA, living in Miami for years. Of course, he got his citizenship. They're like, no, he's an immigrant. I'm like, what? What do you think about that case? You followed it closely. You were there in court for many days.
I've said this before. When you watch that case, go back and watch all my videos, watch anybody's videos. And right up until the moment that the eyewitness testified on redirect, right? We had Meg testify, we had Kelsey testify, we had all these witnesses testify. We even had this eyewitness testify. I was in my bedroom window. I could see these people engaged in a fight. They were all in a big commotion. The gun went off. I thought the girl was closest to it. Tory was good. Had a case that was going to that he could win. He had a case where at least if you were a millionaire defendant, you would say, "Nah, I'm not taking that plea. I'm good. Let's keep letting it ride. We're on track here." And then on redirect, that eyewitness comes out and he says, "It was the little guy and he was doing this." And when that happened, I wanted to make the video. I didn't understand how to manage it, but I wanted to make the video that was like, "Yo, red flag. That's a fucking problem." When he said that, you need to do something about that. What do? You put Quan on the stand, put Tory on the stand.
Didn't Quan show up like so late?
Doesn't matter. You have one job, which is to win. When that eyewitness on redirect, the state's last witness, that was it. The state was done. The state said, "We rest." After that man said the little man was going like this. You've lost. It's over.
Why didn't so one of the things I was thinking about that case, and I'm watching how Brian Steele is fighting. And I spoke to a man, Bradford Cohen, out of Florida. He spoke even about another Millie case, and that ended up mistrial. He said, "Hey, he thinks that Millie's new team might actually get him off just because they're doing the right things." He said most of that trial is going to be fought before it's had.
Yeah.
You got to make sure certain shit do not get in that courtroom, and they're doing it now, but they didn't do it before. So when I think about the Tory case, I'm like, I remember just thinking, I'm like, yo, Kelsey gets up there and gives a testimony. How the fuck do y'all let the prosecutor say, "All right, fuck her testimony, play this tape that we did when she wasn't sworn in front of a judge and in the court. Just play this tape of what she told us in our interrogation room." And it was like 80 minutes. How does that get played?
I think the judge let that tape play because the judge believed that there had been some level of witness tampering with Kelsey, and he saw Kelsey's testimony and said, "That shit just all made no sense. So you know what? I'm going to let them play the tape because I think."
kind of stuttering and not really knowing what. the hell is the big deal about this? Or is this one of those things where like it's the armor, where it's like if we
My
can't
bad,
catch
y'all. I
you for
forgot
the
I
real bad
had
shit you're doing,
phones.
even if we catch you for nothing, you deserve it.
I mean, look, if we take any billion,
Yeah,
and we put his entire life under a microscope, and then we start taking the people around that billionaire, and we put their whole lives under a microscope, and then we charge the people in that billionaire's orbit with crimes, and then we tell them to tell us with the microscope, you're going to find some dirt. Okay, now what did we find? Hayes women.
Hold on. Here's the thing. Everybody has dirt, bro. Everybody got skeletons behind a closet. Now, am I gonna say everybody has a skeleton in their closet as big as these situations we be hearing about? No. You feel me? Speaking for myself and speaking for in general, okay? But don't act like your S don't stink either. You feel me? I hate when people act like that. Like everybody got secrets, everybody this, everybody that. You feel me? Now, as far as raping shit, fucking with kids, murdering, all that other shit, that's on a whole nother level. So yeah.
That he's slept with to remain silent. Oh my God, America.
yeah. I was like, if you can't pay a Sasha call, I was like, yo, what's going on?
Well, if you're gonna sit there and be like, oh my God, like I just assume that that's what all people do. Like I just assume that, and if we catch them doing it, I assume we'll penalize them if they did it in a way that cheats the tax code or whatever.
Yeah.
But never in a million years would I assume that you would catch 34 counts, that you would be on some fast track rocket docket criminal trial where the shit goes to a jury in like record time. And that then, even though you have zero criminal history, you've never ever been convicted of a goddamn thing in your life, people are seriously contemplating jailing you for that act. That is a perversion of our criminal justice system. And it speaks to the larger point that the way our system is set up, the actors within the system have tremendous discretion and influence into how the system operates. And the system is not foolproof. It is only as good, as infallible as the operators. And today, in America, where are the operators? Where are the Brian Steeles? Where are the people who act out of a sense of duty and conviction to a higher set of principles, not how they feel that day, not which way the political winds are blowing? And if you tell me that the prosecutors in New York or the prosecutors in Delaware who put a microscope under Hunter Biden's life and decided to charge him with,
what do you think about that?
Bro, if
This shit look a little more serious. Look like he got caught with crack pipes, a couple of guns.
He got charged with the Kodak charge.
What's that?
Kodak got hit with, Kodak applied for a gun, and on the gun application, they asked you.
They ask you many things. That was an ATM form? Oh my God.
So, so
Good thing I don't have a record, but I am from the
had
South, so
a series of
really don't matter.
convictions, and they asked you, have you ever been convicted of a felony? He said no, and so they charged him with it. Okay, now the question in the Kodak case was, did he actually know whether his convictions qualify under the answer? Right? Are we going to hold this man to criminal charges if he had a legitimate belief that he was answering the question correctly?
And by the way, on those forms, like I'll fill
Yeah, I'll
out
be
that
like,
form.
I thought I was answering it correct.
Sometimes
What the hell?
one of those you gotta check no, 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 no,
I'm
no.
just trying to get me a
Like,
gun.
I've done one check no, 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 and then at the end there's one where you're supposed to check yes. It's like, hey, are you gonna transfer this firearm to someone else who might not have a license? But I already checked a bunch of no's. I'm not reading all this shit. No, 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 no. And then the person who works at that licensed FFL is saying, hey, no, oh no, you sure this is what you want to answer? And I'm like, oh, okay, I made a mistake, right? Now that's a federal form, right? Like if they submit it to the government with like my signature, it would be like, well, you just now broken a federal crime, like a federal law. And that's what you're right. Kodak went to jail for that. Is that what?
So Biden is charged with applying for the firearm, getting the firearm as a revolver. He got it. So he has three charges. One is lying on the application. One is, I think, lying on an application that was then transmitted over federal wires or something. And then third is having illegal possession because he bought the gun, but based on a false application. So when he's possessing it, he's now possessing it illegally. That's what the 3 counts are. But here's my question to America. Is that what we're doing? We're prosecuting people who we believe that they were in the deep throes of a crack addiction. We believe this man was addicted to crack. A millionaire, the son of a senator, was addicted to crack. And when he was addicted to crack, what he did was he said on an application, hey, do you use any drugs or are you a user of illegal drugs?
So is that why? I thought he was a felon or something.
He wasn't
Oh,
a
yeah,
felon.
one of the questions is, are you addicted to blah, blah, blah?
He's not a felon. He was not caught with crack. He was not drug tested for crack. He did not have crack and a gun on him. What they charged him with is that you knew you were a crack addict when you said no to that question. Which is like, bro, maybe he thought he wasn't a crack addict.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I never seen a crackhead say, yo, I'm a crackhead.
Even then,
Exactly.
he's a crackhead. You could, like, put him in rehab.
Yeah.
But how does that?
That's one of the most ridiculous questions on there, because you have to do this you're administering this self-awareness thing of you admitting you're admitting your addictions. And I I'm not too big on knowing the process of addictions. I think a lot of it is people not admitting they have an addiction. It's like that's criminalizing that now.
And I'm not saying crack is good. I'm not saying answering no on that application is good. I am questioning though, when the resources of the federal government, when the resources of the United States Attorney's Office are just laser focused on bringing to justice that man. Because I asked the American public, how much energy should we be putting in to that dude getting a revolver and not disclosing that he uses crack? Is that like a safety issue for us? You guys worried about Hunter Biden murdering people? Or is the concern really that the operators of our system look at Hunter Biden and go, oh, is that a Biden? Are you going after Trump? We're going to go after a Biden. And where does that end? Does that tit for tat bring you, America?
Oh, no. I definitely think we're in Hunger Game politics now.
That's it.
Which means, hey, listen, if you don't win, you dead. Like, you're going to jail.
Here's the scary part. You asked me this earlier. Mo, what was the end goal? Why are you making these videos? You making any money?
Yeah.
Why are we in Hunger Game politics? Well, what's going on at the political level? How much money do people make based on what our politicians do? Because if there's not tremendous amount of money changing hands based on shifts in political winds, would anyone give a fuck? Y'all think this shit is about abortion? Y'all think this shit is about immigrants? Those are the things that they talk about to divide us. What this shit is about is that when one set of people is in power, there are groups that benefit financially. And so they press and they push to have their people there. And the rest of us, we're not even a part of it. We're just fucking accessories. We're window dressing on the real game that's going on, which is that the American government and American business are one and the same. The greatest trick America ever pulled is convincing the world that we are anything but everybody else. Oh, Russia's some oligarchy. The Arabs are just a bunch of sheiks. The Chinese are just a bunch of fucking the Communist Party oppressing their people. Who are we? We're freedom. We're democracy. We're the place where we reward talent and merit and hard work. Or are we the place where when we feel, hey, this is not good for me, I'm gonna use whatever power I can and put that person in a fucking hole because I don't give a fuck. It helps me.
Yeah, I definitely think that. Well, for me, I have a different, the same perspective, but I'm like, I'm kind of indoctrinated to it in the sense of, I also believe that, most of the infighting we see just usually between Democrats, Republicans, and black, white, or, trans, gay, straight, is really, distractions for the real shit going on. I was born in Jamaica. Right. And I was born in the countryside of Jamaica. I came up here right before 9/11. And politics, at least in the country I grew up in, it meant life or death. Like, I'm speaking as someone who my uncle almost got killed over talking politics in town square because other people was like, hey, you're spreading the ideology of the other side. And what gets everybody fed here is that these people are in power. I grew up in a rural town in the countryside that we didn't have phone lines in our house. We had a public phone. The town to the left of us and the town to the right of us did. Why? We didn't vote for the power for the party that won. That's how they treated the ramifications of politics. When no one can think of that over here. Like, imagine the Republicans win and they're like, oh, that's a Democrat ran, whatever, you get nothing. They get everything. So I've seen that, right? The resources, and like they would have these government contracts for fixing the road, and you have a bunch of poor people. Everybody wants them. We're only giving the contracts to people who voted for us, right? So what do you get when that happens? You get people who get really heated and realize that this is life or death. Who we vote for, who we support have to win. What does that turn into? Turns into what we're now seeing here. Maybe that didn't happen in the United States. We know what's happening now. The people who didn't win, they don't get to be like, oh, okay, it was just good games.
Happening.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's happening now. You don't get to be like, okay, good election. We'll try again, come up with some new policies. You die, or you go to jail, you go away. And the way that we could keep winning is that the people who try to keep winning, it's like a coup. Except you try to do the Democratic format. If you didn't win the election, you go to jail. If you didn't win the election, you're gonna never be heard from again. You're gonna be fighting legal battles forever. And I think that's what we're now seeing in America. I don't know if this always existed, but it's very clear and blatant to the average regular Joe that I think before, even if they were doing that, they were a little bit more disguised. Like now it's like, wait, you're not gonna disguise bullshit? You're just gonna do it in plain air.
The emperor has no clothes. You can see them for what they are.
And also to your point, we had this thought of America being the best country in the world. I mean, I still think it is, but it makes us start having these questions of, are we that much different than other people?
You know what the difference is?
What?
In Jamaica, it actually made sense for y'all to participate in the politics because you had a direct.
Mm-hmm.
If you vote for the dude,
100%.
you're going to get that benefit.
100%.
Today, the American public has been excluded from games that are being
True.
because we're not getting the rewards. We're not actually participating. The benefit of being affiliated with these parties, we don't even know. They don't even tell us. We can't even begin to comprehend the interests that are at play for these politicians. We're completely outside of it. For the massive American public, you're going to go to your job, you're going to work your 9 to 5, you're going to get Medicare, Medicaid, and you're going to just eat it and be happy, and that's your life. Okay, but there's actually a much bigger game being played. And there are people who directly benefit just the way those Jamaican people were benefiting when those wars were happening. But today, you can't even tell me who those people are who are benefiting. You guys, we won't even understand it because they don't tell us anything. But just look at the size of our federal government. Look at the amount of money that we give out. Trillions of dollars in defense contracts. I'll tell you a quick story. You know why we entered World War I? Look this up. Because for the longest, I grew up in Queens. I went to public school. And I believe that we were entered World War I because we were on the side of good. It was evil on one side, we were on the side of good. Well, one strand of thought, one argument, something that scholars will put out there is that we entered World War I for a simple financial reason. The Allies were losing very bad. England is getting their butt handed to them. France is fucked. France has been run over. And England, France, and the Allies actually had borrowed a ton of money from us because we would send them weapons and they'd say, we'll pay you when we can pay you. And so they send a letter. This was sealed back then because there was the War Secrets Act and you couldn't actually tell this. But you can see it now, and a letter comes from Europe to the Americans that says, hey, we owe you about $6 billion. And if we lose this war, we will not pay you. And if the Germans win, I don't think they're going to cover our debts. You need to get
absolutely not
because it's in your interest And that's why we went to, I believe that's why we went to World War I. And that never changes. The idea that people are driven by financial incentives, especially when you have outsized financial incentives. I'm not going to give you $10 an hour or $100 for a day of your work. No. You get on this party, I'm going to hit one bag. You don't have to work again, David. How easy is it to buy your allegiance with unlimited?
Of course.
And so we enter World War I, we fucking send our boys out there, they get fucking blown off the face of the earth with some of our own weapons, by the way, because the Germans, first off, we sold to the Axis powers before we joined the war. So we joined the war years later.
We sold to the Allies.
We get there, some of our own ships being used against us. And that history just repeats itself over and over again, where people who stand to make tremendous money from decisions will make that decision. You know, I strongly believe that members of our military service, you know, if you're an armed service member, you should have an outsized influence and say in whether or not we go to war. Today, we go to war when fucking a couple people say we're going to war because it's not even a declaration of war. The war in Iraq, nobody declared that we're going. It's just like, yeah, I'm going. Executive order, fucking bomb. And it's scary, man, because if we continue to go down this road, this tit for tat, tit for tat, tit for tat, every day we're losing these opportunities to actually do the work. You know, nobody wants to do the work anymore these days. Everybody just wants to ride the gravy train.
Exactly.
But we could do the work.
They don't want to do the work like
we got
me,
people in our communities across this country
here
that are looking for
2 hours
for joy,
yeah, to this
celebration. And instead of focusing our efforts on being a country, a community that provides that, look at all of our discourse.
I could be
look
laid
at all
up
of our us versus them arguments and polarization. It's a goddamn shame, and it's all built off of this concept. The United States of America makes a shit ton of fucking money. That money trickles down to people, and those people wield power to shape conversations. They wield the power to shape where our efforts are put, and they don't give a fuck about people. All they care about is more and more and more money. We just got out of COVID. One of the most dramatic, stark, craziest events of a lifetime.
Imagine being in COVID in your early 20s, bro.
You can't talk about it. You can't even start to unpack how the fuck did we act like that?
Fast.
And what are we going to do the next time we have a challenge with this country?
I mean, you're absolutely right. Again, our democracy is definitely it was just like the political structure that's at play in this country. We're starting to see shit that we didn't think was possible, right? You know, I'm gonna be honest with you. I do think we're in the era of winner go to jail. It's not winner go home. Winner go to jail, right? It's like I'm pretty sure. Maybe the sentencing for Hunter Biden gets pushed back a little bit, right? Because there's going to be election, just like, you know, they're saying they're going to sentence Trump, but we'll see what happened there. And maybe the only reason why they don't be like, oh, he has to go to jail is because, you know, the RNC is going to be like, yo, he's a candidate. Like, you're going to look crazy. So they might push that back. But here's the thing. I think if Trump becomes president, he's going to, like, start nudging a few people to put Hunter Biden in fucking jail. And I think that if Biden basically gets another 4, his people are going to be like, listen, fuck Fonnie Wilson, whatever she got going on there. It looks like she's not going to get the job done. We got to get him on the rate of the Mar-a-Lago stuff because, look, he had all this information just at his crib. We got him here. Let's get everything together. If we can't get him to jail, which that would be just so, like, that would be so crazy. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, I'm watching the YSL case. I'm like, yo, Brian Steele is about to do as much time in jail as Gunner. Like, yo, that's a crazy.
They'd have Secret Service. You'd have Secret Service in prison.
Yeah, but still,
the Secret Service would have to serve. They'd have shifts, and they'd serve. They'd be there with them.
Would you really want to live in a country like? And I think the people who hate Trump, because now we're on, you know, I think they call it maybe identity politics. Like, people that don't like Trump, they don't give a fuck why he got convicted. They're just saying, fuck him.
Yeah.
Say, yo, hold on now. If this is going on, me, myself personally, whether it's Hunter Biden or Trump, if we're in a country where they're so quick to throw a former highly elected official in jail because maybe it might help the other party or whatever the case is, or they have access to grind, what chance do I stand? You know what I mean? What chance do you stand if Trump is getting treated like that? I usually thought, look at the police officers. When they do something wrong, they just kind of be like, turn your body off and let's just try to smooth this shit over. We can't have you get fired. What the fuck? Now it's like, but and I'm not opposed to everyone getting the same treatment, but expedited trials. Let's prosecute a felony that people usually don't prosecute. Is a little concerning to me.
The big concern to me is the opportunity cost. That while we spend all this time at each other's political necks, and while these people spend all this time on their vendettas, what they're not doing. We have the opportunity in America today as the only people with access to the semiconductor chips that we have the opportunity to create a whole new world that provides for our people, that solves so many of society's problems. And essentially, what government has done on that front is we're not going to do anything. We're just gonna let the rich people invest in a couple tech companies, and we'll let the CEOs of those tech companies do whatever the hell they want, because we all got money, we got kids, we got vacation homes. I got fucking amazing dinner plans tonight. If y'all are having a tough time in your life, that's on you. Go figure that shit out. Goodbye. And that's what we're doing today. Until there is, a significant organic people-powered movement where people actually just say that, even though this isn't going to change my now or my week or my month or my year or my 5 years or my 10 years, I'm still going to take an interest in it. And I'm still going to dedicate some time into things that are shaping the world that we live in. Because I don't think the world is hopeless. And I don't think my life is just the popcorn that I eat and the air that I breathe. I think I'm a part of the fabric of society. And I want it to look a certain way. And unless there's just a massive, massive, massive change, because the tide is clear. People are caring less and less. People are ready to slap fucking Vision Pros on their hand, accept all the fucking, bro, I'll accept this permission, that permission, that permission. I'll pay that fee. I'm good. We got fucking 42% THC, Casamigos. I'm good. I'm good. And that's getting deeper. Unless somehow that changes, look, I hope we're good. I hope you're good. Because
yeah. The last question I do want to ask you, and I'm asking, well, you can deal with that, however. I guess more of a prediction and also a reaction to Diddy. If you had told me maybe a year ago that Diddy could ever be in this situation, not saying any man's above the law or not saying any man is, infallible, but to see the things that has happened and how quickly his empire has essentially fallen, and to see now he's at the place and at the juncture of coming up to, he's facing a federal indictment that could possibly put him away for life. It's just kind of shocking, man.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, so far, we just have a raid. Put aside all the civil lawsuits. We have lots of lawsuits. I don't know that those are ever going to stop. Yeah. I think he's going to have to pay a lot of people a lot of money.
I think he's going to have the bankruptcy bill at that point.
I think he's got a lot of money. I mean, Cassie got 30. I don't think anybody's going to get as much as her. He's probably got 125 laying around to pay him out.
I mean, well, maybe historically, I mean, even Harvey Weinstein and them guys, right? What's the other guy?
He got a lot of money. Diageo paid him. Also, none of his problems seem to have started until the Diageo shit. Right? I don't know.
I'm wondering if there was maybe some inside tipster that probably was, maybe they were paying off some guy from the government, hey, listen, some shit's coming out of the pipeline. Get rid of this dude. Because
they paid him $1 billion over about a 9-year period, and they were going to have to keep paying, and now they're off the hook.
But they were only really upset, or not upset. They challenged the budgets that he requires. Not like so here's the thing, he's having a great relationship with them. He's having such a great relationship with them, they get new relationships. So he's on with Ciroc. This is the deal I hear he has with Ciroc. Hey, you're getting paid as a endorser, like an ambassador, which is might be, hey, this is set amount. He says, I want more skin in the game. They look at him and be like, yo, you'll never own Diageo. You'll never get a percentage. This is what we'll do though. We'll make you a partner on flavors of Ciroc that you bring to market. So you'll get a percentage of the sales of those flavors. He said, all right, let's do it. And also you're the face of it. Right? So you're pretty much responsible for all the marketing. They give them all the money. This happens for years. So all those flavors of Ciroc you see, that's because they did that deal with Diddy. Diddy gets part of everyone he brought to market. They're all good. They're down with just throwing in the marketing money. Who knows what he does with it? He can shake that bad boy, take this, yo, Ciroc, pour it in everybody's don't act bad. Nobody has a problem with it. A year or 2 years ago, they're like, he asked for the budget for the next fiscal year. They're like, nah, no, I think we want to go out a lot less. Like, what? The fuck are you doing? Like, then also he brings Delion. He brings Delion. And he says, all right, well, I own Delion, or I own half of it. It's like, hey, let's make this a new Ciroc. And their relationship changes drastically. They don't really fuck with him as much anymore. Now, we could just say maybe he's just biting off more than he could chew. He was always, like, put like this. I'm pretty sure Adidas at a certain point with Kanye was just like, buddy, you think you're too important. Get the fuck on out of here, right? Maybe that's what it is. Or maybe they were like, hey, this guy's made you guys, if they paid him $1 billion, they probably made a couple billion from him, right?
I think they probably made 10, 50 times.
So maybe they were like, hey, they got a tip to say, this guy is not going to be good for all the marketing greatness he's done for you. Start cutting budgets, get out of there. They got out at the right fucking time, did they?
Yeah, that's right. Look, he's gonna pay, I think he'll pay off any civil settlements. I think he'll have the money for that. Then the question becomes, is he going to catch a federal charge? The raid was done by HSI. It was the feds, but Homeland Security Investigations was there. Anytime HSI gets involved, we're talking sex trafficking.
And Southern District of New York, they brought down Casanova, 6ix9ine, all the guys.
But HSI specifically is an agency that when you see them, you can usually bet your bottom dollar that this is going to be a sex trafficking type of situation because it involves across state lines. Whether they found evidence, it's been a while since we've seen the raid. Could he get charged with sex trafficking because maybe he had minors or other women being moved across state lines or out of the country? We'll see. Charge hasn't come yet. Listen, you know how that shit works. They'll talk to you if you have information to give up. They won't charge you. They can continue that conversation. I don't know what's going to happen with Diddy, man. I do think that he'll survive all the civil lawsuits because he has enough money to pay them all off. And, what I've said on my page, and maybe this is me just kind of wishful thinking because Diddy was the producer of every fucking song that I ever listened to growing up. I mean, I grew up in Queens, New York in the 90s. Like, Puff Daddy was that dude. Like, No Way Out dropped. Like, I know every word to every song on that album by heart. So I'd like to think that whatever he was, his violence towards his spouse, where he beat his wife just a way that I could not. I could never imagine like man would do that to a woman.
Yeah, Captain wanted man. Before all this shit happened.
It takes everything off the table, like what can you not do? Really, like what are your limits? You have any limits? It doesn't seem like you have any limits, man. She had her hood on. He did a close fist to the back of her head.
Yeah, that was definitely just violent, just like really disgusting.
I can't put nothing past you at that point.
Well, okay. I think everyone, especially after seeing that video, knows his behavior is violent, disgusting. He's probably done much more, but do you think he's going to jail? Because that would be, I think when people saw R. Kelly go to jail, they're like, whoa. But they were like, but that's not the R. Kelly of the, that's not R. Kelly at the peak, right? Like, that's not R. Kelly, that's the guy. Whether you want to think about Michael Jackson or not, there was conversation about, well, kids or whatever the case is, and he didn't go to jail, right? No. But Diddy would be probably the most high-profile person ever in hip-hop history if he ever goes to jail. And I mean, obviously, that would be tantamount to like Bill Cosby, right?
I mean, the only thing that that could potentially save Diddy is if that HSI investigation, if that raid was motivated entirely upon some of the allegations we've seen in the civil lawsuits. So in the Little Rod lawsuit, you'll remember Little Rod's lawyer filed a lawsuit against a lot of people, filed a lawsuit against Lucian Grange, Universal Music. By the time Lucian Grange's lawyers were done with that lawsuit, the lawyer for Little Rod was writing letters to the court, basically apologizing for naming Lucian and saying he's trying to run it. He's like, oh,
Nah, Lucian's the guy.
not drop all of his charges.
Nah, Lucian's the guy.
Lucian's lawyers made a mockery of that complaint, and they said this is complete fucking bullshit. This is not how you can file lawsuits. I should have never been named. The law is just not adding up. The allegations are not adding up.
Well, I think that particular lawyer and Lil Rod himself probably got a real taste of you're flying too close to the sun. Diddy is super high. Lucian Grange is the music industry.
No, but Grange, the reason why Grange gets out of that lawsuit, and the reason why the lawyer had to walk it back, and really kind of go hat in hand and ask the court for forgiveness, is because they were on legally just not good ground. The complaint, as it was written, did not create credible did not create enough allegations, even if true, to hold Lucian accountable. And then there was huge questions about they were just complete fabrications in there, where they were saying that Lucian had been to these parties when it was just never ever happened. And so my point is that it is certainly possible that the investigation by the federal government was motivated entirely upon allegations that have been made in civil lawsuits. And if that were the case, there is some hope that they can escape charges, because we have now a record that a lot of these allegations in these civil lawsuits are kind of far-flung and out of the question.
I think Cassie's a star witness. I
heard that from Bradford Cohen. He's a smart guy, and Brad's comment, his point was that when you look at the timing of when the Cassie tape got released, it was released right after the raid, right? And so who had the tape? The feds had it. And so how does the tape get released? Well, one way is there's a federal agent or employee or maybe a janitor, somebody gets their hands on tape, they sell it for money. But Brad Cohen, the lawyer for Kodak Black and many other celebrities and a brilliant criminal mind, his theory was that Cass is going to be the star witness, and that if Cass is going to be the star witness, well, Cassie was also maybe involved in bringing.
She's a Ghislaine Maxwell, and again, in further cementing the fact that rather than a co-conspirator or an indicted co-conspirator, she's actually just only a victim. Because, I mean, she probably is going to be an indicted co-conspirator. I mean, if she recruited, hey, I want all the black dudes in the area with 13-inch penises. Like, yo, you procure these. What the fuck is with the freak off? You know what I mean? Now, again, under duress, not against your wishes, that's why you show, hey, look how I was being treated when I didn't do what this motherfucker wants, right?
I thought that the release of the video could be something else. I thought the release of the video might be the feds raided them. They don't have any charges. They kind of looked at for doing all that and then not charging him. So you release that video and you're like, what? Fucking monster.
Well, grand jury is supposedly be convened. Here's the thing, and I don't have a horse in the race, but I think if they do this, Diddy's fault. And I'm gonna go down this train of thought. If we're to believe what you said, maybe they had the idea or was motivated by some of these civil lawsuits, but some of these civil lawsuits, especially filed by even Lil Rod's lawyer, they paint was a RICO organization that is basically sex trafficking. Now, with that, it's always important to find the money. Even in the Tekashi case, they had mad instances of drugs being sold, and it wasn't necessarily like they cared about drugs. It's just like this was an enterprise that somehow had a way of making money, right? If that becomes a situation where they attack, a racketeering angle, even for sex trafficking with Diddy, and I know you say he has a lot of money, I agree as well, and he can pay off whoever he wants to. However, if that becomes part of the subject of this investigation or the indictment, where maybe he's not privy to just have hundreds of millions of dollars at his disposal, it kind of brings back the whole situation when they went after, guy in Queens, Preem, when they felt like he was getting bankrolled by Murder Inc. And they said, all right, cool, we ran into Murder Inc. and we make sure that they're not going to be bankrolling him anymore. You have to face us as a regular human, not as the guy with hundreds of millions that could silence people and really maybe taint the process. If they do that and cripple Diddy's financial possibilities, I think this might look really sticky for Diddy.
Oh, don't get me wrong. He's in big fucking trouble. There probably is a federal grand jury, and he's probably going to have to try to, give up information to lower his charges. I don't know, but certainly there's a lot of smoke around that man.
I've heard some things. I've heard that Diddy has a team of 20 plus lawyers. He has 10 plus investigators, private investigators, who are as much as if you post something, they're looking into it. Like he had the very best of the very best working on debunking every single thing said, even on social media, that say the feds were probably trying to either look into or add to their case, that they're trying to work with the feds here and be like, hey, listen, this is bullshit before you even guys look into it. We have an innocent guy who's getting, railroaded by not only 100 people, but by a narrative that, isn't going. A lot of people have jumped on this narrative because they're jealous of his success. If that works, I don't know. But I think Cassie, they've compelled her to testify. And if she get up there and start singing, he's settled with her mad quick, man. She got 30 million.
No, he settled with her too late. That case was brought under the New York State Adult Victim Survivors Act. It basically said that if you were the victim of a sexual assault that happened many years ago, and the statute of limitations has expired, we're going to open up a window when you can now file that lawsuit. And so Cassie and her lawyers filed the lawsuit on essentially the last day or the last couple of days that they had. And that's not because it's not because Cassie hired her lawyers on the last day. It's because her lawyers had for months been negotiating with Puff saying, hey, we're going to go public. Give us the money.
They're asking for $30 million. We're suing.
Diddy, think about it. If there's
30 M's?
Bro, if they've been pushing on you for months and saying, hey, settle, we're going to go public. 30 M's? Bro, if they're pushing on you, settle, or I'm going public, and then they go public.
I don't think he ever thought it would be as big as this is. Like, for example,
that's right.
Look at Kanye West. Like, Kanye West just got hit with some shit. Here's the thing, though. Even though there's some crazy shit in there, like Kanye is talking about a 5, something
I
like
gotta
that.
read that one, but
Here's the thing, though. Everyone's like, it's yay. I mean, it doesn't show a serial pattern of him like doing wild shit. It shows him being a super freaky guy. That, maybe he thought they were comfortable with it, but they weren't. So, like, really, this isn't gonna just kill his reputation. And also, it's Kanye. Like, Kanye be getting very different privileges. He just
Kanye don't be playing
the Jewish people. So Kanye is a little bit different. Diddy,
did not survive.
He's still out here putting out albums.
Nah, bro, he didn't survive that album. What was the Vultures?
It went #1.
Not yet. But it's coming.
Vulture 1 went #1.
It was struggling to find
Vulture 1 was fire. That shit was fire.
But did it do what it should have done? It was a pretty hard album.
No, if he was not in the mode he was in right now, of course it would win. Of course. Yeah, he's not at his peak. But like, I think when people think canceled is that I think you don't think that he'll still be #1, even if it's at a lower #1 or a lower amount for #1. You expect him to be like, yeah, motherfucker, you tried to drop an album, you sold 300 copies. And he's kind of fighting it. Like, you know what I mean? Other guys, shit, I think people just get out of the way or just bow down.
He started talking about wanting to do porn. When I heard that, I was like, man, this dude not making enough money for music. He's still chasing that.
Freaky, man. Like, to read his lawsuit, like, he is freaky.
On weak as hell. Hey, I'm gonna have to look it up. Because the porn industry, that's a lot of fucking money. So you can't say that. But at the statue that Kanye is at, that is kind of fucking weird though. Like, wouldn't it be like more normal and for me to do it? Not saying I will. But OnlyFans is coming soon. Anyway, but nah, I'm just fucking with y'all. But nah, but you never know. Shit, I actually am gonna end up making an OnlyFans for sure. You know, show off my abs. You know what I'm saying? Like show off my abs because I be working out and shit. You feel me? And I need to show that off to you. You know, just you know. But let's get back to it. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, also, new mixtape dropping July the 3rd. Tessie Bitter Beat, Send Me a Beat Deluxe. My dog got Struggle too. I got another mixtape dropping in November. It's called Scorpio Playboy Season. Baby. Big Scorpio. Well, I'm Big Scorpio, baby. Something like that. By the time we get to November, etc., I'll have the name officially. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a deluxe though to Scorpio Playboy Season. The first one I dropped in 2022. Just updating you guys.
Like he was saying some stuff. He said his penis is racist.
Allegations, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, then these people, I imagine, okay, you meet with someone, they're telling you a BS story. Like you kind of look into it. Like, for example,
Prove it in court. That's what it matters.
So Bradford Cohen, he said this about Lil Wayne. He said,
yeah, it's not about if you're really guilty or really innocent.
He's done civil suits, but he's really particular. He's like, this is the difference between Lil Rod's lawyer and like Cassie's lawyer. Like Cassie's lawyer probably got offered everything that Lil Rod's lawyer got offered, but pick the ones that are gonna be the sniper, right? Because you just don't want to be filing lawsuits just to file them. You wanna be the guy who, all right, then he settles in a day. Which, by the way, he's now representing a new woman going to get the dream. And let me see, what's this? Yeah, no, this is crazy. Oh, did you hear about the? Well, this is not a lawsuit, and you shouldn't take this case. Okay, out of being, you're part of the media. You can't take this case. Did you hear about the issue up at No Jumper?
No, bad, dude. I heard something. I heard there was
No
a shooting,
Jumper
but I didn't hear the details.
bro.
Somebody posted a comment that like, yo, do a video on the shooting at No Jumper. I couldn't find anything about it.
And I'm going off, and for anybody here, I have no horse in the race. Okay, I mean, like I said, the dude was supposedly, jamming the gun or something like that, and maybe a bullet went off. But apparently, the dude didn't get hit, allegedly, right? Allegedly, didn't get hit. He said he got hit. Now it's in this weird area. So he's saying he got shot. Apparently, went to the hospital. They said, where? We couldn't find him.
He's also weird.
Yeah, the doctor's gonna find him. And they're like, no, we got the bullet fragments. So we don't know. Apparently, he's super upset. And from what I hear, he tried to offer Adam some money. Or he demands some money from Adam and say, hey, if you give me this money now, I mean, he's doing this without a lawyer to this point. Give me this money now.
That nigga.
Hey,
I ain't knocking him, but
right?
I'm just gonna say that.
Apparently, Adam's like, fuck him. Now he's at the point where he's about to sue. Is it something that, well, obviously it's a suable thing if you shoot somebody, right?
That's a really interesting question. So I can't speak to California. In New York, like if that dude over there shot me right now. So it'd come down to, well, I'm not at work right now, but let's say you're an employee.
Yeah.
All right. And there's a security guard here and I get shot by the security guard's gonna. So because I work for you, I can't sue you because it's a workplace injury.
What?
Yeah, I got like.
Yeah, I ain't know that.
Like you would think that I could sue my job if I got shot at work or if I got hurt at work. You can't sue your job. In New York, you're prohibited from filing lawsuits against your employer. You're limited to workers' compensation unless there's a death or an intentional act. So if your employer shoots you intentionally, it's a criminal matter. Obviously. Okay. So you definitely can file.
Apparently, it was a freak accident, but and
so,
again,
so
no
that would be like a
thing.
negligence lawsuit, failure to safeguard the workplace. You can't file negligence claims against your employer unless there's a death. So I would have no lawsuit against my employer.
So you have to go die and come back?
Here's the interesting part. Let's say you hired a third-party security company.
Well, that's exactly what they did.
So if the security guard doesn't work for Off the Record,
Yeah.
the security guard is employed by ABC Security,
Yeah.
I can sue ABC Security because they're not my employer. That's called a third-party lawsuit. Now, the difference is in workers' comp, you don't get no money, really. In workers' comp just pays you for any weeks you miss from work.
Oh, pain and suffering.
No,
my leg.
Workers' comp.
Did they give me a leg up?
Don't get hurt at work.
Really?
Yeah, no pain and suffering in workers' comp.
Yo, I kid you not, and this happened in Jersey. My brother works at like this place with crazy people.
New York only, I'm talking.
He works at this place with crazy people. One day, one of these crazy motherfuckers, you know, like the hospital, the crazy hospital.
Yeah.
One day, one of these crazy motherfuckers, he trying to get them to take their pills. This nigga was off some shit. He just pulled back and sucked my brother in his was in his eye or his nose, broke the whole orbital socket.
Yeah.
My brother couldn't work for a year. They had to do reconstructive surgery, multiple surgery. He was out. I'm thinking, yo, you're finna get down.
Oh God.
Got a year of pain and some medical bills paid. That's it. That's it. That's fucked up.
I showed up and I saw him one day and I was just like, yo, he looked like he couldn't open his eye. He was in so much pain. I'm like, oh. The whole time I'm like, yo, all right, bro, there's gonna be 2 millionaires in the family. Hell no.
The worst part is we have this.
He's still fighting for money.
Yeah, you can't sue the crazy guy. He's not worth nothing. You could file a lawsuit against him, but it wouldn't be worth your time. The crazy part about the workers' comp bar is it's all of our workers in like the most dangerous industries that keep getting hurt at work, and they really don't get any compensation. Security guards, people working in the mental hospitals because the patients are always well out.
Yeah.
They're always getting attacked by people who are worthless and for a job that they can't sue in negligence. This sucks. We got to change that. We have a state senator in New York who I got to write her a letter, man. Like this shit got to change.
Wait, so you telling me you get popped at your job, and if you make it out to the other side and you still breathing, you're only getting workers. But I guess this guy, he could sue because I heard it was a third party company. It wasn't. The security guard is contracted for the third party company and was at no jumper.
Yeah, so you could sue a third party company because the restriction applies to suing your employer.
And that's what it would be in New York. In California, maybe some other shit. Damn.
Crazy. I hope that guy gets better though. Shout out to him.
Yeah, then I think he good. I don't see no bandage on the guy. I got a bandage on. Yo,
Hey, he ain't play it off.
Hey,
Right.
be honest. And let's get off this situation. If somebody tells you, yo, I don't know, it could be like, I don't know, a city worker. Yo, I'm working and because of a negligent whatever, I fell in a manhole that was 10 feet deep. Like, are you gonna be like, yo, bro, I don't care if you broke your leg or not, put on a neck brace. That's what's in the movies. That's the only problem I have with this guy. This guy look too healthy. like I can't give you no. You gotta act the part. How you get shot? There's no bandage, no cast, no nothing.
Yo, the neck brace. I feel like lawyers just have like a client. Isn't there? The client comes in.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like sign the agreement. The client like
get a sling, get a neck brace. Yo, my boy don't have it. Yo, if I'm him, I'm at least recording a video of me walking with a limp. Like, bro, you look too healthy. Like too healthy. Like, don't you have to play the part?
I got ethics rules to follow, ladies and gentlemen. Please do not act and have fake injuries. And certainly,
everybody's always told me if you get in a car accident, you know it ain't your fault. Somebody T-bone you. Hopefully you're all right, first of all. But if you're all right, you move all your fingers, move all your toes, and then all you do is crawl out the car. My neck, my back. I'm like, Kia, my neck and my back. That's what you do. You don't move. They say they're trying to roll you over. The person comes out. Oh, sorry for hitting you. Let me get you up. No. Get the ambulance and get my lawyer. That's what I think.
Yep, get your lawyer, DJ Academics. Yo, with that neck brace, catch that bag.
Oh man, yo, where can people find you online, man?
Yo, at Lawyer for Workers, Instagram going strong. Hack.
Yo, you making a lot of money out here now, man. I'm happy for you. Well, I'm just happy in your plight because I've seen you grind it out, and I think a lot of people who are probably, and I respect real entrepreneurs. There's a lot of times during everyone's path when someone's not a real entrepreneur, they look at you like, what is this guy doing? And I think people said that about you a few times. I've been like, isn't he a lawyer? Like, well, why is he over here covering this? Why is he talking about this? Shut the fuck up and watch me grind. That's sometimes you gotta tell people.
That's what's up.
Right? So I'm very proud of you, man. Listen, advertising practice, advertise Instagram, let people know, if they need to go holler at you.
Injury cases, you got hurt at work, you're not getting paid right at your job. If you have some past issues where a rapper was sexually assaulting you.
Yo, come on, man, come on. Yo,
It won't be this rap. Not be this rap. Not try this rap.
Yo, come on, man. Yo, hey, listen, if you guys aren't getting your proper overtime pay, you're getting too overworked. That is a specialty, okay? Let's not get with the rapper sexual assault is too pervasive. However, if you did get shot by a rapper punched you at his show, you know what I mean? Like a rapper just beat you up just to get some clout, go, that work. But I mean, could you practice in other states? Say something happened in like Vermont.
I'm not licensed outside of New York, but I do work with other attorneys on a case-by-case basis. I have cases in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and we're working on one right now for Cali.
Really? Yeah. Okay, so you just basically you bring on someone else, but you still work very intimately.
Yeah.
Oh, dope. All right, people. Thank you guys for watching, man. This is my guy Mo right here. Listen, pretty much he's the hip hop lawyer I watch the most. So you guys tap in with him. I usually.
Yeah, make sure you guys tap at him and make sure you guys tap that like, tap that subscribe button and type out that comment. I don't care what you comment, bro. If it's too wild, I'll block you. And if it's too wild, I just won't respond. I am still going to be responding to comments if anybody left any or whatever. So yeah, check the links in my description. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Turn around, baby, go and drop it down.